5'7", 5'7".
5'7".
Wow.
5'7".
So
Yeah,
That's his height.
confirmed.
5'7".
I'm 5'8", but
yeah, he's
you know,
5'8".
you know what's
You
fucking,
missed the
wait,
extra
you want to know what's
Yeah.
fucking hilarious, James? This is funny as shit. When I went to go get the suit yesterday, the tailor was there, so I was wearing the whole suit. So she's like, the jacket's kind of big on you. I was like, I guess much. She's like, you're 5'8", right? I said, how'd you know? She said, I'm a tailor. She
Well, yeah.
literally looked at me and said, you're 5'8". I literally found that so interesting because I can't look at someone and say like you're 6'3", you're 6'4". Like no,
That has to be a violation. It has to be.
She's just like she's like that.
she literally did not stutter. She said, "You're 5'8". I said,
Yeah.
"Yeah, how'd you know?" So yeah, I'm a tailor. All right, well, fair enough.
How tall
That's
are
her
you?
job, you
How
know?
tall are you actually? 6'2", 6'3"?
Yeah, 6'2".
We'll give you 6'3"
All right, there you
With
go.
shoes,
with shoes.
with some Air Max, with
Yeah.
some Michael
No,
Jordan threes.
So he'll be 6'7", wearing 30 pairs of socks, with no holes.
That is a weird
I
stat.
actually got good socks on today.
Hey,
So
how about this? He's 6'3" with socks without holes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with holes, he's 6'2".
yeah,
Okay.
that sounds about
so
right.
the holes kind of
Yeah,
deflate
the
him
the
down.
holes deflate him down.
Yeah.
Essentially.
There's less in between.
Yeah, the holes.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, you have to watch the previous.
Yeah, watch
at
all,
least the intros.
just watch all the
because-
intros, but stay for the whole pod.
Yeah,
Yeah, basically the intros is where, for some reason, Antoine likes to talk about Gio's feet.
it's into yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
Gio decided to wear no socks one day.
That's scary. Look, bro, show them your feet. What are you talking about? The dogs are out, brother.
I'm the one wearing no socks.
Yo, they're barking at me.
Gio decided to wear whatever he calls a sock in air quotes, which were holes underneath the entire sock one day.
ain't no way we're starting off this episode with hypocrisy from the middle of
Right.
the screen. There's no way we can't.
He's talking about my feet while his dogs are
Yeah.
barking at me
His-
right now.
his-
They're mad loud.
But get us to 1,000 subs,
Yeah.
and apparently Gio will show you his
I will.
feet. But there was
Yes.
something else that Gio promised at 1,000 subscribers. I think it's
Yes.
time you mention it because you did make the promise
Yeah.
at the end of one of the episodes, and I think you need to put yourself on the record again.
Yeah.
There were two things. Don't forget the second one.
I really want to forget the second one, but one of the things was I promised that I will download Twitter.
That's not as
I
bad
don't
as
want to
TikTok.
do that,
That's not as bad as TikTok.
but what I really don't want to do is download TikTok. That is the L-list app.
Comment
ever.
down below what's worse to have on your phone, Twitter or TikTok?
There's only one.
I don't think I'm gonna
comment
do
what
it.
he should download
Look,
first.
if you guys if it happens in like 3 days, I'll download TikTok. That's the only
3
way.
days is a bit.
3 days,
No,
1,000
How
subs.
about before episode 8 comes out? We'll meet in the middle.
Okay.
It's not
Fair.
It could happen.
So is that like a week?
Yes.
No, this episode goes out on Wednesday, so
Yeah.
at least a week and a half at the time of recording. So it's very possible.
It could be, unless I make 100 accounts and
I
subscribe.
would throw my phone away, bro. I would never use my phone.
We're cutting it close.
I
We're
would never use my phone.
Bro, if I get TikTok on my phone, it's
It's
going to be
on
like
site.
1 minute limit to
Yeah.
be on TikTok, and that's it.
You just hide it in the back of your
No,
phone with all the
literally.
apps and stuff like that.
But yeah, that's the deal. So
All right.
Yeah, and
just
speaking.
get us to 1,000 subs,
Yeah,
I guess.
if any of you guys are new, remember to subscribe.
Yeah.
Right now, at the time of recording, we're like 864, 865.
Yes.
So
Yes, roughly.
be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the stream, like the podcast, like any of our videos or our shorts. And if you hit the notification bell, you will be notified every single time we upload, which we upload daily. So everything will be out at 4 p.m. or somewhere around that time every day. I'm hoping this podcast can get out on Wednesday at 4 p.m. because editing has been a bit of a challenge just with my PC crashing at least 10 times in edit. And if you guys are on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, make sure to follow us there, give us a 5-star rating, all that stuff, and follow us on all our socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and whatnot. And we actually have a special guest here in the studio. Unfortunately, we don't have a
sir.
camera or a mic, but our dear friend James is here.
Hello.
yes. If,
I wish we could rotate the
yeah,
We could
Eric.
rotate the-
Eric.
if you want to come over here and say hi real quick, you feel free.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can get in his
Over here and say
camera.
hi.
Listen, if Antoine makes any bad picks or talks about the Knicks, I'll butt in.
Yes. Yeah, we need that.
We're not drafting, but it's
We
okay.
definitely need that,
We'll do
but-
bad takes.
But yeah, no. Some episodes we will have some people here just kind of chilling
Oh, of
out.
course.
Yeah.
Eventually,
Yeah.
we will get ourselves guests on the show, whether
Yeah.
that's in person when we get a fourth mic and a fourth camera, or we can have some people like in through Zoom or Skype or whatever, Discord, whatever's relevant, I guess, or whatever's easier for the other person. They can just record the footage and send it to us.
Word.
So that's obviously something we're down to kind of do in the future. Let us know down in the comments if there's anyone you want to see on, whether it's one of our friends or someone that we know or or just anyone that could classify associated with the NBA.
Yeah.
Because that would be kind of fire. But
Yeah.
I'll ask y'all how y'all doing today?
I'm sore.
We're doing well.
Sore?
Very
He's
sore.
sore.
So actually today was something called the Murph Challenge. I don't know if you guys know, but basically that's run 1 mile, 100 pull-ups,
Ooh.
200 push-ups, and 300 squats. After all that, run 1 more mile.
Oh no.
Okay, so that's the
No.
Murph Challenge. I didn't do it today.
Okay.
But I
No.
prepared for it yesterday.
when are you
It's
doing it?
brutal. Next week.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind
Pray
of
for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat with you as sore. I hurt my foot last week.
Yeah.
Got it checked out yesterday. I have some strain in one of the tendons in the bottom of my foot, so I have these inserts in on my shoes for the next week or two. And if it doesn't get better, I'm going to be stuck in a boot for 2 weeks, 3
yikes.
weeks. So
Yeah, we can't.
Okay.
Have
yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen because
Yeah.
that would be a major L. But a little sore today.
I might have to pick Tyler's feet for my draft for
For
Tyler's-
worse feet.
Coming soon.
Yeah,
no, yeah.
yeah. We got
All right.
a lot of drafts cooking up in the
Yeah.
the back burner.
We got
So
some great stuff coming.
yeah. And we just, at the time of recording, our one of our guest the players just went up today. We can actually say who the players were because it's on the screen. I think it was the Marcin Gortat, Brandon Roy, yes. So definitely go check that out. As of right now, we're on a very strict, short schedule as to what we do. Our guest the players go up every Wednesday and Saturday. Our 20 questions go up every Thursday and Monday. Our drafts go up every Friday and Tuesday. And on Sundays is our player builds. So yeah, obviously make sure you all go check those out. They're all on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We're going to resume TikTok posting again sometime this week, most likely when this episode comes out. But yeah, this is a bit of a longer intro today. We apologize. But just kind of on the docket for today, we do have a lot to get into. Obviously, at the time of recording last week, the all-rookie teams came out, so we'll talk all-NBA, all-defense. We even have, this is our first time, I think, touching on the WNBA in this show. So we definitely have some WNBA talk to get into, as well as some coaching firings, some GM hirings. We'll obviously review the 2 conference final series because that's obviously the main kind of thing going on right now. There was a big media rights deal that went down, so we'll talk about that. That'll probably be our longer segment today. And then it's your turn, Gio, to do the question for the debate. We still don't have a name for this segment, so if anyone has any sort of naming ideas, let us know in the comments down below. So, yeah, anything else from y'all before we get into the episode?
Let's
We're
go.
ready to go.
All right, let's do it.
Let's go.
All right, into the first story, or I guess the first part of the episode of the Floor Spacer podcast. At the time of last recording, which was episode 6, I believe, they announced the all-rookie teams that morning at the time of recording, and we obviously revealed it. We talked about it, stuff like that. Obviously now the week has come and gone, and the all-defense and the all-NBA teams are revealed for the public, both teams for all-defense and all 3 for all-NBA. Is there a specific one you guys want to get into first? I have them all here.
Let's do
just-
defense first.
All defense?
Yeah, that's
All right,
fine.
we'll roll through all defense. So,
Yeah.
again, all defense, it's quite obvious considering, the 3 finalists for DPOI always get in. So, obviously, Bam Adebayo, Rudy Gobert, Victor Wembanyama are the first 3 names on the list. Then Anthony Davis got in, as well as Herb Jones.
For this is first team.
This is all defense. This is all first team, all defense.
First team all defense. Okay.
Yeah.
That's I had 4 of those 5 players.
Yeah,
So I'm perfectly fine with that.
I had everyone except AD. But I'm fine with
Okay.
him getting into first team. The fact
Yeah.
that he
I
played,
forget who I put him.
the fact that he played over 65 games is
Yeah.
a miracle in
No,
itself.
yeah, that alone.
Yeah.
Honestly,
impressive.
I'm picking AD for my. Never mind. Yeah, that's for next week.
Yeah, you're revealing too much information.
Yeah, I am.
But and then second team, a lot of typical suspects as well. Alex Caruso, Drew Holiday,
Yep.
Jaden McDaniels, Jalen Suggs, and Derek White.
That's literally I couldn't have think of a better 5.
I have all these guys, but they're all mixed in.
Yeah,
So I have some guys in first team, some guys in second
Yeah.
team.
Right,
But
yeah.
it's all the same guys.
The wealth is spread out
Yeah.
a little bit throughout.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first team is big guys. The second team is more the guard forward.
Right, yeah.
That's how they went. Looks like
Who's the guy on the Timberwolves?
Jaden
Jay-
McDaniels.
Jaden McDaniels.
On the list?
Yeah.
Yeah, second
He's
team.
there. He's there.
Yeah.
He's logged in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's good.
He's a dog.
Do you want to
Yeah.
pull up who would like the others receiving votes if that exists? I know
Yeah.
NBA PR
Let
posts
me-
all of it because that's the one thing I forgot to pull up, and it would take me 10 years to try and do it. But I'll go to you first, Gio. Just your general thoughts on just both all defense teams. Are there any notable snubs for you that missed the cut?
Oh. Nothing that comes to mind immediately. I mean, I'm sure you guys will have some guys that were snubs, but
Yeah, there was a couple.
nothing for me that comes to mind right away. But I love the picks, honestly. I love Derek White. I love Caruso, J Mac. All these guys they all deserve it. So
Yeah. There needs to be a third team.
yeah,
There really has to be.
I agree.
The fact that only 10 players
Who
can
would you
get
put on that
selected.
third team?
On that third team,
Okay.
I'm trying to remember who I have.
I have some votes.
Yeah, we'll let Antoine.
Yeah.
we'll let Antoine
So it looks like a very close person that was almost second team was Lou Dort.
yes.
Lou Dort, Kawhi, Chet, Jared Allen, Shea,
Wow.
He
KCP.
led the league in steals.
That's true.
KCP was up there.
He'll probably get
Giannis.
snubbed.
Others were just scattered. Josh Hart got a few votes.
Did Aaron Gordon get any votes?
Gordon got 6 second place votes.
Okay.
Okay, so there definitely needs to be a third team.
definitely needs
because
to
a
be
lot
a
of those
third
guys
team.
are solid,
Like Dort,
more
Allen,
than solid.
Giannis.
Yeah.
There's so many
Yeah.
just lots of defense
Kawhi
guys.
even
Yeah.
when he's healthy.
Yeah,
he
other
was,
ones.
He was on load management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he play enough games?
He played over. He was in consideration,
Oh,
so yeah, he was
okay.
eligible.
Right,
Remember,
right.
he's in a contract year right now, so he kind of has to show up.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't, then he's not getting the bag. And they still.
Loki, he should have not showed up, so he was ready for the
Yeah,
playoffs.
it looks
Yeah.
like the guys with the most first place votes that didn't get in were Lou Dort and Giannis. Shea came in third on that, and then Jaylen Brown came in with third.
Okay.
3 first place votes. Second place votes, Kawhi was leading that. Lou Dort was second, Chet was third, Jared Allen was fourth, Shea was fifth, tied with KCP.
Okay. So yeah, there definitely needs to be a third team because all of those guys
Yeah.
deserve all defense
Oh, yeah.
honors without a doubt.
Yeah.
So
And Chet got like
He got
like,
21
He was in the shadow of Victor, but he was outstanding on defense.
that's what really
Blocks.
sucks about his injury because otherwise he'd be on a totally different
Right.
pedestal as for like NBA fans.
Oh, yeah.
Because everyone views him now as just a watered down version of Wemby, which is just not the case. He's his own. He's his own unicorn.
Yeah.
So
He's going to develop
Yeah,
as well.
it's only his first
He's going to
year.
get better.
yeah.
Just give him time.
I mean, the
Yeah.
fact that he came back from a Liz Frank injury is just a miracle in itself because that ligament, I believe, it kind of like fucks up the arch of your foot if you don't get it treated. So the fact
Is that what you got?
No, the Liz Frank's on the top of your foot. Mine's I think it's like the tibial tendon. It like starts like high up on the leg and then it goes down
Right.
around the interior ankle bone. I don't know what it's called. I don't have a medical background. Basically, when the doctor was telling me after that, I was just kind of smiling and nodding because I didn't understand half the words she was saying.
Yeah.
But it apparently goes into the arch of your foot and like kind of goes under. And that's where my pain is, like right in the middle of the foot. So,
If Chet gains, he doesn't have to gain much, just a little muscle, a little more.
yeah.
He's gonna be
So you're talking like not Giannis makeover
a
completely.
Giannis who could shoot.
I think maybe I
Okay.
think Giannis is too good to be true. I feel. I think maybe just Tatum but more buff.
That's the
Okay, I
ideal.
like that.
That's
I like
the
that.
ideal.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Ideal.
Tatum, but more buff. I
Yeah.
like that.
That's fine.
because with Tatum you retain a lot of your flexibility.
Right, and you can still shoot it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
But I
Because he's
think-
getting pushed around a little. And
mean-
you saw that in the Mavs series.
You saw the weight he put
Daniel
on.
Gafford and Lively.
You saw the weight he put on last offseason though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He buffed up a lot.
But yeah.
Yeah.
A
But
little
I do
bit.
remember, I think it was the Thunder played the Nuggets, I think, in like the second or third game. They asked Jokic about Chet. He's like, he needs to get a little bit fatter, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
He's funny. I'll give that to him.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that all defense was kind of straightforward. I
Yeah.
didn't really think there was much discourse to it. There's obviously going to be players snubbed because there's only 10 spots available, and 3 were already going to be guaranteed for first team. So we take it. Before we move on to All NBA, do you think Anthony Davis and Kawhi Leonard can repeat playing 65 plus games next year?
No.
Was this like an all-time
I'm
fluke
hoping
in the
they do.
NBA? Because it could be, but
I mean, I wouldn't bet on it.
I
that they
definitely wouldn't
play,
bet on it. No,
But
it'd be a
I would
nasty
love
payout.
for them to stay healthy. They're great players.
Right.
You know, but
Yeah,
It's
I
good
doubt
for
it.
the league if they're out there more.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we'll see what Kawhi does because they haven't agreed to an extension yet.
Yeah.
So and obviously AD will stay, but let's move on to our to the Kia All NBA teams. Again, the first 3 are going to be Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, the 3 MVP finalists, always get in. However, this was the first year that the 5th place finisher in the MVP voting did not finish in All NBA first team.
Was it JT?
JT finished in the All NBA team. Obviously, Giannis was the other person to finish in, but I believe Jalen Brunson finished 5th in the MVP voting, and he was put on second team. So just to recap, because I know it sounded a bit confusing, All NBA first team, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, and Jason Tatum. So
I had all 5 of those.
yeah, I had Anthony Edwards instead of Jason Tatum. I would have put Anthony Edwards over Jalen Brunson as well.
Really?
I think Ant had a much better regular season, also based on the fact that Anthony Davis stepped up when Cat got hurt when he had the knee surgery.
Right.
So that, for me, put him over the edge. Because, I mean, it really was kind of pointless of MVP voting because none of them were going to win it. But as far as all NBA went, I think very even. But if you look at the record and you look at the strength of schedule, the Knicks would be like 6th or 7th seed in the West. And the Wolves would be the second
Yeah,
seed.
but that's still like a if sort of.
Yeah, but
statement.
you're playing tougher competition.
Yeah.
Like if you're telling me the Knicks couldn't get past Indiana, imagine what they could have done against if they were playing the Nuggets or the Wolves. Or I just think the Timberwolves are a better team, and I think the West is just more stacked compared to the East outside of Boston.
Okay.
So, and again, if you had Brunson in first team, I'm not against it. I don't think it's that bad at all.
I personally think that's a snub. He just had too good of a season, man.
But are you
and he carried his team.
But are you counting that as far as recency bias of what you saw in the playoffs? Because this is a regular season on.
Right. Even in the regular, he was doing the same thing in the regular season.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And then if you count that in the playoffs, that just adds to his case.
Right, but it doesn't count. That's why I hate that they announced these during the second round. Do it at the end of the regular season. Have the stupid award show, whatever you always do. But I don't know. It's interesting with that. But into second team, obviously Jalen Brunson, Anthony Davis made it in, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, and Kawhi Leonard. So Kawhi playing 65 plus games, working in wonders.
I think that's all fair. Looking at their team, I might have had maybe one jump onto those guys, which is Hallie.
I would have had him probably in third team. His second half of the season wasn't as good because he was hurt.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'll take that into account. Yeah.
I think I would take out. So Jason Tatum was first team, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm taking JT out, moving him to second team this year. Mm-hmm. And then I'm putting either Jalen Brunson or Anthony Edwards in that first team.
Okay.
Based, whoever you want to pick. But one of those guys has to be first team, in my opinion.
That's fair.
Especially this year.
My lighting got really bad.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Right?
And also, I believe one thing we forgot to mention, now that Luka Doncic has made All NBA first team, he's now eligible for a supermax contract, which I believe totals up to $349 million over 5 years.
Would he become the most highest paid?
I think Jason Tatum's is going to be more. Jason Tatum's will probably be in the 360s.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, once we get into the media rights talk later, it's really going to be nuts contract talks. I mean, you're going to see some nasty contracts probably within the next 3 to 4 years. Mm-hmm. We're just, Jaylen Brown was just the beginning at $307 million, was it? Somewhere around that.
Yeah.
But that's wild. And then we get into third team, which is a bit controversial. Obviously, you got Steph and Bron. You kind of knew they were going to get in there somewhere if they were healthy. Mm-hmm. Devin Booker, Tyrese Halliburton, and Domantas Sabonis was the controversial one. I'm going to close the door. We're hearing some background
Yeah, my
noise.
dad's talking.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think Domantas Sabonis has been the one that's really garnered a lot of controversy on Twitter due to the fact that he's not only gotten onto All-NBA third team, he got MVP votes. He got one DPOY vote.
Wow.
And people are up in arms everywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Because Domantas Sabonis is the kind of player that just doesn't – he's good. He just doesn't contribute to winning as good as anyone else does.
Really?
Yes. That's been the narrative around Domantas Sabonis.
When I watch him, I say otherwise.
Well, I mean, if you kind of look at it from this perspective, this season he stat padded a lot to get that double-double streak going.
Okay.
Like he would come back in the game with it was 6 minutes left and they're already up by 20 or 30, and he's just going to get 1 or 2 rebounds, and then he comes out of the game. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people also saw his playoff performances, with the Kings, obviously this year, and then last year against Golden State, he was just a no-show. I mean, Draymond got in his head, and he just wasn't able to play his version of basketball. But and again, it goes back to the Chet talk from earlier. I think people view him as a watered-down version of Nikola Jokic, which I think is more accurate than the Chet with Wemby stuff. But do you have any thoughts? Any of you have any thoughts on the Sabonis slander? Is it warranted?
I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the other guys that got votes. Jaylen Brown came in close.
Yeah.
With that, Paul George, Maxey, just rounding out the list. Maxi, I think, could have got that over
Yeah.
Sabonis easily.
I think the only thing holding Maxey back was the way the Sixers just collapsed after
Yeah.
Embiid got
Yeah.
hurt. Brown should have been in consideration.
I think so.
Gobert was there. Wemby was there.
Yeah.
Zion got votes. Paolo, De'Aaron Fox, Bam, and then with the lovely just one vote, DeMar DeRozan.
Wow. I didn't think he was eligible. I thought he played under 65 games.
Yeah, that was it. But I think Brown, and you can definitely vouch for Brown and Maxey over Sabonis easily.
Oh, absolutely.
I
see
think
that.
I think even Wemby you can include in on.
Honestly, even if he was
That's
eligible,
fine.
I would put De'Aaron Fox over DeMontis Sabonis.
Yeah.
That I completely agree with.
Fox,
Yeah.
I'm fine with too. Yeah,
Fox is the best player on the Kings.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think
Yeah.
it's close to there.
I guess.
Yeah, that's
He's the
fine.
engine.
Yeah.
But Sabonis, man, whenever I watched him play, he does everything you need out of a center to win games. I feel like.
Is that all NBA third team though?
That's where I kind of have a problem with it because I don't think
What did
it's
he
all
average?
NBA. This season, I think he averaged a
I'll look it up.
double-double.
Let me
double
look.
double with like what 20 points? No,
I think he averaged 20 points.
Was
it was
it
like
20?
it was like 20, 10, like 6.
that's solid, man.
Yeah.
He averaged.
And he did more. He did
He
more than that,
averaged-
too.
no, he
In terms of
averaged-
defense. His defense was great.
He played out 82 games. He was 19 and 19.4 points, 13.7 rebounds, 8.2 assists.
That's good.
It's
Plus
good.
triple double.
However,
That's better than I thought.
him and Fox were like healthy most of the season, and they finished 9th in the West and got eliminated in the play-in.
Yeah.
So that's where it's hard. I understand you lose Malik Monk, but like, I just think if the step backwards this franchise has taken since their high last year, because the West got so much better,
Yeah.
and you saw teams like OKC and Minnesota kind of rise up from the top. The Kings should have stayed atop. The only reason Denver did from being passive was because their starting five was still there. Sacramento was passive and they didn't do anything.
Right.
The Siakam
Yeah.
trade fell apart on them.
So then, what do you expect Sabonis to do?
You expect us.
Their general management didn't really help them out any at
Well,
all.
at the same time, if you finish third in the West last year with Sabonis playing the way he has and Fox playing the way he has, you expect them to play better because that was their first good year.
Mm-hmm.
You expect them to kind of take that step up and increase their production. And I feel like Fox was the only one that did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
I feel like Sabonis was very similar to last year. It was very stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of similar to the way we saw Donovan Mitchell play in the playoffs. It was kind of the same. Had that same explosion game, but it was nothing like over the edge that's going to make you elevate your game to like that high of stature, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I didn't watch enough Sabonis, to be honest.
I don't blame
really,
Yeah.
to argue that, but I get it. It's a fair point.
Yeah, he definitely needs a big bounce back here next year.
Did the Kings lose Buddy Hield?
They did.
They traded Buddy Hield.
They did. They traded him to the
They
Sixers.
traded him to the
Yeah.
Pacers.
Pacers, then
Pacers,
Pacers
yeah.
to the
That's honestly
Sixers.
one of their biggest losses.
Yeah.
Buddy
was
Hield.
good.
I like both.
I mean, their biggest loss was getting rid of. Well, they had to get rid of Halliburton. To
Yeah,
get
Hallie was a
Sabonis
big
in the first
loss
place.
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
That was a
you
weird
can
draft
count
pick.
on him Buddy Hield to get like 20 or 30 from just shooting good free
No,
pointers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of a no-show for the Sixers up until Game 6. So,
It's because he got minutes. You decide
Yeah,
after a
they
minute, he'll
didn't
show.
play
Exactly.
Buddy in.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But like, I think it's the way the Kings make decisions. It's really like weird. There's like a meme going around where it's their logo in the middle of the text "fucking stupid," and King is, Kings are obviously in the word, so they're not known for great moves. And even now, like the front office is not happy with Mike Brown. But if you fumble one of the best coaches in the league, I don't know what to tell you at that point.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
Best coaches in the league.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
one of. I didn't say
Brown,
the best.
Yeah,
He's one
Brown
of.
is pretty good.
So, but yeah, any final words on the All NBA, All Defense selections?
No.
Yeah.
I think
Alright,
we covered
we're
it
good.
all.
Let's move on. All right, into the next story or into the next segment, whatever we want to call this. This is going to be our first time talking about the WNBA on the show. Obviously, we had mentioned stuff in the previous episodes, but nothing too in-depth. But I feel like this week is a good time to start getting into WNBA talks, especially because everything in the media has been very hit or miss or very selective, very controversial, very unpopular, I'd say. But I do think before we get into that, I think we'll quickly touch on the expansion because obviously the league is growing. Now, there's heavy involvement with the NBA having their own WNBA affiliate teams, their other counterpart. And we just saw Golden State was announced last year, 2 years ago, that they were getting their own team, and they just revealed their logo and branding a couple weeks ago. I think they're called the Valkyries. It's got like a really cool logo, cool black and pink. I'll put the logo and stuff on the screen on the overlay.
Yeah.
And it was just announced, I think on like Monday or Tuesday, that it's going to be the first team in Canada. Toronto is getting their first ever, or their first WNBA team.
Okay.
Not sure what it's going to be called or anything like that, but it was chosen over a couple notable cities. I know Denver was an option. I think Miami was another option, and there were a couple other cities. But I mean, just general thoughts on just like the state of the league right now and future expansion.
I think Toronto should, after Golden State, should have been first because that adds a whole other market in Canada. More fans coming in
Right.
from another country. Of course, Toronto Raptors being the only team in Canada right now, they probably definitely needed that team. Miami and Denver will come down in line. Those
Yeah.
are two big markets they're going to fill in easily. I think right now with Caitlin being in the league is a great thing. I know that's getting a lot of slander from players themselves, and just
Really?
I think
Talk
yeah,
about
you-
that. What kind of slander has she been getting?
We'll get into the
We'll get
Clark
into that?
We'll get into that.
Yeah,
Okay.
its players are slandering her really negatively, and I don't think she deserves it because Charles Barkley mentioned a lot of it on Inside the NBA before. Just they're slandering her a lot for no reason because she did get them a lot of things, which include charter flights, team hotels, all the money coming in, their contracts being higher because of her coming in.
Wow.
A lot of money things. But they probably don't like her being the main thing of attention
Wow.
and taking it away from them. But we'll get into that. But Toronto, I think, is a basketball city.
Yeah.
Biggest market in Canada.
Yeah, exactly. You couldn't really go outside anywhere because Toronto is the main team that has basketball.
Right.
Yeah,
Nowhere
and
else.
their NBA team, the Raptors, they're packed every single
Yeah.
game.
Yeah,
I
and
could-
there's
I could-
there's going to be no more teams not with an NBA counterpart. I
Yeah.
think the only obviously Vegas is going to get an NBA team at some point. We know this.
Yeah.
But even that team moved from San Antonio.
Yeah.
And then obviously I think the only other team that doesn't have one is Connecticut. No,
Chicago.
Chicago
Oh,
has
the
Bulls.
Sky,
Yeah.
the Bulls. Yeah.
But Connecticut has the Sun, and there's no. I mean, the closest one you got is Boston. So. essentially-
He's got to get his food.
Yeah.
Yeah, you good, bro. You chilling.
Go ahead.
New Jersey needs a team again.
Okay. Yo, hold on. I might go. That would get me back into the WNBA. You know.
If New Jersey got a team, thing is, I just don't know if they're gonna when will be the point? I was like, when will be the point when we'll get two teams in one city? I just can't see it happening until
Yeah.
they get at least 20 plus teams.
Yeah.
And even then with the NBA, New Jersey, it's too close to the Knicks and the Sixers and the Nets, and I just don't think it would work properly. I think the East is too congested. You need more teams out west. Send Minnesota, New Orleans, and Memphis over to the East because it just makes sense. But
Let me ask you really quick.
Yeah.
Why do WNBA teams need an affiliate NBA team? Why is it that way?
I don't think they need it. I just think it's good to have that sort of
Layout?
not layout, but I guess like would you consider an NBA team an entity or an asset? It's good to have an asset kind of backing you with a lot of money.
And also
Okay.
being able to play in their arena and use the same things that they use.
Right. Well,
Okay.
now that Caitlin and Angel Reese and Cameron Brink are all in the league, when you're going to play like the New York Liberty, the Liberty always play at the Barclays Center, but if you're going to play the Mystics, they're going to play their games at the Wizards Arena because obviously there's going to be a bigger crowd to accommodate and everything like that. And it's great to see because the league deserves to grow. And I think it's their turn now as the MLS in the last decade expanding from like 12, 13 teams, and they're getting their 30th next year. So they've done a beautiful job expanding, and it's the WNBA's time now. Oh, my voice cracked. It's the WNBA's time now. And you'll see, I don't know how rapid the rate of expansion will be because the NBA is not as the NBA and the WNBA are more financially aware of themselves and more self-conscious with it rather than the MLS. I mean, the MLS just didn't care.
Yeah.
They
didn't
just
care.
kept adding teams.
Like I think the commissioner's name Don Garber, or it's something Garber, but he just wanted to expand as fast as possible, and they've quickly grown a lot bigger. The league is still not as talented as Europe, but I think with the W, I think it's good venturing out into Canada now.
Okay.
Because you want to establish that early. That way you can kind of build up a fan base, and who knows, maybe in the future, if they want to expand to other cities in Canada, like especially if an NBA team goes to Vancouver, which could be
Yep.
an option, that would be a good reunion. Also, Seattle's the other one that doesn't have a
Right.
NBA team right now.
right now.
That could return.
And it will return.
I think it will
Mark
return.
my
Yeah.
words.
It will most likely be Vegas and Seattle for now,
Yeah.
and then I guess we can kind of see going forward. But you can get into now what you want to talk
The
about.
Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say for a namesake for the Toronto team, I could definitely see them copying a dinosaur name from the Raptors. Just makes sense. I don't know what female
Like
dinosaur.
pterodactyls.
Because I mean,
No,
because even the one we just saw, like the Warriors and the Valkyries, are kind of different but similar.
Yeah.
Well, I think a warrior and a Valkyrie kind of go hand.
Yeah.
But but it's totally different schemes though. Like
Exactly.
we saw the Aces change from their colors to the Raiders' colors, and we saw the Warriors are blue, gold, and white. The Valkyries are black, pink, and white. So it is different.
Okay.
So will we see a similar thing? Like the Timberwolves and the Lynx are like really similar.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a great brand though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
But
Yeah, we're going to touch on Caitlin now. Obviously, she's had a few games so far. She just won her first game yesterday for the Fever.
Yep.
So that's her first ever WNBA win. But Charles Barkley was touching on this on the pregame show, I think, in game one for, I think, the West Conference Series, just calling the WNBA players petty. He just kept saying, y'all women are petty because they're slandering her for, I guess, the media attention. Just a lot of I guess because she's getting way more attention than I guess the other rookies are, and including the stars. But, Barkley backed it up saying that she gave them the charter flights now. They're not flying commercial anymore. They have their own private flights. They have better team hotels, I'm sure, now, too.
yeah, I think everything.
So everything's improved. Yeah, I'm sure their money is getting improved with probably bonuses and just longer contracts, more money, and just get jealous over somebody else's success coming into the league, taking the spotlight from them. Which is weird because I think the player that we saw that was, I guess, Caitlin's caliber come in recently was Sabrina Ionescu, and I feel like she wasn't getting as much hate when she came into the league.
Well, think about it this way: if you look at the college game last year, there was rivalries. Sabrina really didn't have any rivalries. It was just she was there in Oregon, UConn, and South Carolina were just beating each other up.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you had the whole even the year before, you had Caitlin Clark. With Iowa, you had Angel Reese and them with LSU, Haley Van Lith at Louisville at the time.
Yes.
It's just there was a lot of discourse that generated, and sometimes it does take bad rep to grow. Sometimes you do need some negative rivalries to you need some chippy games. That's kind of what happens. You see, there's no relationship between Wemby and Chet. I don't think they hate each other, but they certainly aren't.
No,
they're more acquaintances. They're not friends.
Yeah.
They don't fuck with each other. So, and I think you also kind of see that. And yeah, you just see there's a big divide with just everything, with the way they played and everything like that. And I guess the one thing is this has been a generational draft class with both the NBA and the WNBA. Right? We saw last year, and we saw this summer or this spring. This was a really stacked. Like you're going to see a lot of rookies in the WNBA getting WNBA awards, and I think when Caitlin Clark is the poster child of all of it, people are going to get jealous. And that's just what's happened. But like, it's just lame because, it's not, everyone has a contributing part to where the WNBA is today and why it's going to grow. Right. Like Caitlin Clark wouldn't be Caitlin Clark without Angel Reese or without Cameron Brink or without any of these players. Right. And obviously you already have the legends that are currently playing like Sabrina and like
Brianna Stewart,
and Diana Taurasi,
all those,
and all of them, yeah. So it's like it's definitely a hot topic. It's definitely controversial because there is this sort of divide between I guess just opinions, and unfortunately, it has turned very stereotypical. People have played the race card. People have done a bunch, and I think at the end of the day, you just need to enjoy them all.
Yeah.
Don't take it for granted.
I hope for next year, because next year there's probably going to be a number one predominantly pick, and that's going to be Paige Beckers.
I think it might be Juju.
Oh, it could be Juju. Yeah, I think Juju Watkins and Paige could be one too. I think if Paige rebounds back really well, and she's a scorer, really ball-driven point guard. The fans love her. She's a fans player. She had the red shirt because she got a really bad injury going into her sophomore year. When she was a freshman, she was hyped up really well, really, because going to UConn, of course.
Well, yeah.
That's another given. But she's a player that fans love, and she'll bring in a lot of money for them along with Juju. Both really good players. That could be another draft class next year that could be for the ages as well. But this year, Caitlin was probably the generational talent that we won't see probably for another 10 years coming into the league.
Yeah.
For them.
I think so. But yeah, it's crazy. The Slander's gotten like, every star player is going to get slandered, but just the shade being thrown, like the tweet Angel Reese made the other night was just
What did she say?
weird. She said, I forgot exactly what she
Should
said.
I pull it up?
She deleted the tweet, so you can't find it.
Really?
I
Yeah.
can't pull it up.
But
You can
she
find a
was trying to
screenshot.
clap back at Charles Barkley and essentially said like, oh, it was more than just one person that got us chartered flights. So
Well, maybe she's just trying to say like that's just the reality, and you guys are giving all the credit to Caitlin Clark, and maybe that's true.
I don't know because it generated a lot of bad press, and I'm
Maybe it's
assuming
also Angel Reese feels like she's being left out of it because she does have a
right.
high popularity. Maybe not as much as Caitlin Clark, but she's
Right.
up there too.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah, it's always going to be these kind of topics are always going to be touchy feely because there's
Yeah,
a lot of varying
so-
opinions, and I think the craziest thing too, especially about the charter flights. I remember 2 years ago, Joe Tsai gave the Liberty charter flights for the entire season and got fined out of his ass. It's crazy, but I'm glad to see that
Yeah.
they're all getting the charter
Yeah.
flights now.
Angel's tweet, I think I think she's going off of their win that they got from the Skies. She's like, and that's on getting a win in all caps in a packed arena. Well, she meant arena, but she put area.
Yeah.
Arena, not just because of one player on our charter flight with the kissy emoji.
Yeah. So, and now granted, they're professionals now, so she probably has an agent telling her, delete certain tweets if they're not,
Right.
if they don't go over well.
Right.
So that could be a reason why.
I also want to say one thing about this.
Yeah.
This whole, situation, and that is, how would we react if these players were men? Because I heard someone bring up on Instagram.
Barkley did bring that up too when he was talking about it.
Yeah, I heard someone bring up the point that like if these players were men, would we be encouraging this? Like, oh, this is gonna be good for the league. This competitiveness is gonna be great for the league, right?
Right.
Or this like how like back in the '90s and the '80s, everyone was butting heads. That's how it was.
Right.
So would we be encouraging this if this was men? And are we only saying this is bad because this is females?
Well,
What do you think?
I think if you kind of go, I think it might just be the way the league runs its course. Because I think back in the day of the NBA, right, was it kind of similar with like, with the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Right.
Like they
Yeah.
were kind of the ones that saved the league, and then David Stern kind of
Right.
guided in the right place. I'm sure we weren't alive at the time, but I'm sure people were not fond of them.
No.
Essentially among the league, because obviously if you're in the NBA, you want the attention, you want the fame. But I would not be condoning this if it was men either.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I'm at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what gender you are. We're all human beings.
Right.
yeah, I think
But
the
isn't it the-
example.
Isn't it? Wait,
Go
one
ahead.
one
Yeah,
second.
go ahead.
Isn't it the rivalry that gives it more just appeal to fans watching? Like that's
Right.
what saved the league. It was the rivalry.
Right,
So
but
maybe this is what
I
it
think
is.
it's-
Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark rivalry. It's the beginning of something.
I think
maybe
it's
that can bring.
it's the
more.
level of toxicity with the rivalry,
Okay.
the way things are being brought up, kind of like the Jokic Embiid debates. Like it could have been handled a lot better because it really was not, and thank God it ended because I can't take it anymore. But I think this is getting on my nerves as well because why can't you just like there's something called a healthy rivalry,
Right.
And this is far from it.
Okay.
And I do think Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese they're cool with each other off the court. Right, there's no issue there. It's just the outside noise from everyone else trying to make this about something that's completely blown out of proportion. When at the end of the day, that the WNBA is growing, they're getting
Yeah.
money in, they're getting the viewership and everything. We should be celebrating that. We really shouldn't be celebrating it because this should have been happening years ago, right? But I think with the way the league is trending, I definitely think it's going to get up, and viewership will rise, and the number of teams will rise, and everything like that. I just think the discourse is going on a dangerous path, and I don't like where it's going.
Yeah.
So that's kind
Okay.
of my thing with it.
I think I'm going to close it off with this. We didn't see any negativity with Wemby coming into the league. It was all positive.
We did in the summer. Everyone was
Yeah.
like, it was
I-
going to be a bust.
Yeah, but I think
that.
the players were very welcoming of him coming in
Yeah.
and what he was going to do for the league. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't think we saw a lot of players tweeting
Yeah,
about
that's an interesting point.
Wemby being a bad thing for the league.
Right.
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I think, I'll leave it at that. I mean, we'll see how it goes on. Hopefully, there's nothing more occurring towards the end of the season when it gets to playoff time. We'll see.
Hopefully not. Well, I mean, only not every team gets in. So
Yeah.
we'll see who's kind of doing what. And as far as
Yeah.
like the whole Caitlin Clark not playing well, when you're the best player in your draft class, you're going to go to a shit team. That's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to lose a lot of games. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, and that's that. You even look back to last season, right? Paolo Banchero was by far the best player in that draft class outside of maybe Chet, But you go to the Magic. Christian Brown, middle of the pack, not the greatest player. Went to a championship team. That's just what it is. You know, it's not Paolo's fault that the Magic were awful.
Yeah, I mean, they made it in this playoff second year, so maybe Caitlin could do it in the second year. But I don't think the first year it's going to be like Wemby. Same thing. Spurs didn't make it in the first year.
Right. They intentionally tanked.
Yeah,
that's kind of a different
one
story.
player is not going to dramatically change that entire team.
Right, but it gets you set up for the future. That one player can change the whole future of your franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
And Caitlin Clark will do that for the Fever.
Yeah.
And Angel Reese eventually will do that for the Sky.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Obviously, we wish all the players best of luck for the rest of the season. We'll definitely cover some more stuff, especially when it gets to playoff time.
Of course.
We can cover the playoffs here and everything like that.
Cool.
So hopefully the Liberty can redeem themselves this time.
Yes.
Because that was a very heartbreaking end last year. But anything else on this?
No.
Good to go.
Let's get into the next story.
All right, gentlemen, let's get into the potential. Oh, it's a firing.
Yeah, it's
actually.
a firing.
It's a firing of JB Bickerstaff. He's been with the Cavs since 2019. He was the assistant coach in 2019 and got promoted in 2020. And thoughts?
You want me to go into it?
Yeah, go for it.
I think he led him into a somewhat of a nice kind of step forward, but I think this year definitely took a step back. I think they were I think for them right now they should kind of blow it up. Not the whole team, but I think you keep two players, which is Mobley and Strus. I think Garland, Mitchell, Allen, you all kind of move forward from those guys. I don't think that's your core anymore. They got to find a guy that's going to work with those guys and build his team if he wants to keep those guys. Bickerstaff, I think, will probably get on an assistant staff somewhere else. He's a very good coach. I think he did a lot of good things for them.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work out with the play. I think the players should take more accountability for this. I think they kind of led him down this path because Garland didn't show up well in the playoffs. Strus was not like he was in Miami. Mitchell had his injuries. He was kind of in and out. What's going on with him? So I think they need a new direction. I think they should kind of break up those guys if they want to do that and just start up a new core with Mobley. I think Mobley's an integral part for what they need to do. And then maybe keep one of your signings from last year, Niang and Strus, with their two guys to fill in for their role guys because they really didn't have any role guys coming off the bench. Niang, I don't know what's going on with him. That's a whole other story. Strus, I think, can rebound dramatically next season and be that 3-and-D guy for them.
I don't know. If I'm blowing it up, I'm getting rid of him.
Yeah.
Him too?
I mean, yeah, he was putrid in the playoffs.
I think Mobley's the only guy you don't move.
I think Mobley's the only guy you keep.
Mobley should be the only untouchable unless Donovan Mitchell wants to extend. Because if Donovan Mitchell wants to stay, then by all means, keep building. Because hey, I'm very mixed on this because obviously a lot of Cavs fans are happy because, obviously they've been calling for his job for a while now. But I think this is a much bigger problem.
Yeah.
The fact that their GM, I'm forgetting his name, it's Kobe something, but their GM had the audacity to just not take the accountability, kind of push things under the rug. And I didn't like what I heard from that press conference. And honestly, I'm glad JB's out of there because, the way he made it seem, like he said he was too involved. Like making it it's like almost seems like he's the head coach or something. He's the head coach. He's supposed to be the one that's hands-on. He's supposed to be the one doing everything. Right? And at the end of the day, the Cavs' production in the playoffs was very bad. I understand they won a series, but that was against a young and experienced Magic team. And it's hard because was JB Bickerstaff good at his job? No. But at the same time, the Cavs weren't doing him any favors to begin with in the first place, right? So I'm more on the side of they kind of need to do a lot more in the sense of just getting their franchise in a more stable spot. Because right now it just seems like a big mess. You got Marcus Morris going on podcasts talking shit about Jared Allen. That's just not right. It's not don't blame Jared Allen because he didn't want to get a giant injection in his rib to play. If he's in agony, don't play.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
Right. So I think with JB Bickerstaff, he'll definitely get ahead. I think he actually might get a head coaching hire somewhere.
Okay.
So I think noticing all the dysfunction going on behind the scenes in Cleveland will kind of give him a much better look and reputation.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I think we got to put that into account with what was going on there. I feel like that's another thing I think we saw 3 coaches get scapegoated with Phoenix, LA, and now Cleveland. With
he was more apt to go than LA and Cleveland.
I think so too, yeah.
There's time, but I think there's more problems.
Yes.
I think what were the expectations for the Cavs coming into the season?
Well, I mean, they got thrown off course last year because their expectations were to beat the Knicks and then contend against Boston in the second round.
So what was it for this season? A second round exit?
For this season, show up in the playoffs. This was a weak East. It was wide open. The Cavs stupidly decided to tank the last game of the season to avoid any matchups against like Miami and them. They decided it wasn't as important to them, I suppose, and that kind of met you up with the Magic in round one. The Magic were a lot better than they had thought of.
Yep.
And then unfortunately, that sets you up with the best team in the East in round two. So like,
that's what I'm saying.
You're basically screwed unless you thought you'd rather not have to play Milwaukee or the Knicks or whatever. But if I was Cleveland, I wouldn't care because you shouldn't need to avoid matchups in the playoffs because you're gonna have to play them anyways. And if you're trying to avoid matchups, then maybe you're not fit to win a championship. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, what did you expect though? Like going into the second round against the Celtics, did anyone expect for them to win that? No.
They exceeded.
So it's like,
exceeded my expectations a little bit in the fact that they won a game by like 30 points without Jared Allen.
Right.
Like that impressed me. And obviously they couldn't really live out their vision because Donovan Mitchell was injured.
Yeah.
So we don't know. This move doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
It's not as egregious as the Vogel firing or the Darvin Ham firing, but it's still pretty bad to begin with.
Right.
But
Yeah.
do you have any initial thoughts on it or any thoughts?
I mean, it's just overall, it's just like it was just time for him to go. It's not like he did a bad job or anything.
Yeah.
It's just time for him. He needs a new atmosphere or whatever it is.
Right.
For him, because he just did a mid job, I would say.
That's fair.
So he didn't overachieve and he didn't underachieve. He was just middle of the pack.
He kind of just did what he did. Is there any like early coaching candidates you see being a good fit? I mean, you know most of those coaches.
I literally have no idea who would take this job. I think they're probably going to go a younger route.
I mean, I think these kind of jobs are what coaches want, no? Unless you're a ring chaser.
I could see if
you want to put your name on the map, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I have to see who they interview.
Yeah, it's tough. We don't know, obviously, yet. I'm sure there's a lot of top assistants that are going to get looked at. Even some coach like they either might interview Vogel or Darvin Ham. We'll see.
Yeah.
Both of them deserve jobs somewhere in the league. So I guess we'll see. But any other final thoughts on that one?
No, let's move on to Detroit.
Move on to Detroit.
Yeah.
All right, into the next story. We're just going to keep this all on one recording because we do record these in spurts. Otherwise, like I said, Gio's laptop cannot handle it. Hopefully we can get you a new one at some point.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome. But obviously with one firing comes another hiring, although this one's not in Cleveland. It's over in Detroit, a team that has been, my God, I don't even know. I mean, this franchise has literally just fell on its face, got back up, did it again, and just repeated the process for at least another 2 or 3 more years. This franchise, ever since even trading for Blake, they just haven't been stable. They haven't been good. They've been shafted by the lottery once again. And they finally have a new president of basketball operations, and I think they got a right man for the job, and that is former now Pelicans general manager Trajan Langdon. He was interviewed by, I believe he was interviewed by us to be a head coach. So
us,
the Nets.
Okay, because I thought you meant
us.
us.
No, we obviously did not. I would love to interview him at some point. That'd be cool.
That'd be cool, yeah.
But he was a name that we all kind of talked about. No, he was talked about as a potential replacement for Sean Marks because we don't, or just a president of basketball operations because we don't have that. But yeah, I think he played in the league. I know he was really good in Europe in the Euro League, and obviously now he's kind of guided the Pelicans into this state where they're at now, where I think they really need someone else to kind of elevate them to a title contender level because you have the pieces there. You may have to move some stars around, but obviously now in Detroit. I mean, this is, I think, the perfect job for someone like him to really kind of make a statement and really kind of cement himself as one of the all-time great higher-ups in the NBA. Just initial thoughts on sort of what you think he can bring to Detroit.
I mean, the core is there for Detroit. Cade, Ivy, Duran, Soar Thompson. They need another guy in there to help balance that youngness, I guess the correct word is. They need some vets.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple, and then we'll go from there. I think they're still deciding on Monty. If he gets fired or not, they might eat up his contract. If they do fire him, we'll see what Langdon does with that. I think probably the first thing he's got to do is if he wants Monty in, if he wants him out, and then go from there.
Right.
And then assess the team. But they're going in the right direction. They just need to win games and get quality guys in there that are going to help their team succeed. They have the rookies. They have tremendous amount of young guys that can turn into great players for them. I think it's all about finding the right guys, veteran-wise, that work with those guys and just developing them into their star players. You know, they have 2 guys in the backcourt who are elite at what they do in Cade and Ivy. You have a center in Duran that's showed big strides this year. He's injury prone, but he stayed on the court this year. And then Asor is one of the Thompson brothers. They're both athletic as hell. They both can blossom into great wing guys, wing players, role players as well if they don't want to start them.
Right.
But they'll be there a long time. They just got to get some guys in there that's going to balance out the, I guess, young athletic guys with the old guys that know the game a lot more than they do.
Right.
I think if they get the right coaching, that'll balance that out. If it is Monty or not Monty, then you go from there.
Yeah.
But they need to start winning. They can't keep losing.
Yeah, and they were trying to win this past season. That's what makes it even worse. Just adds insult to injury. And that's just kind of been the aura of Detroit. It's just been all negative. And I think now this really puts pressure on Troy Weaver, their general manager, to start getting aggressive with some moves and kind of get this team into the playoffs, because the East is so open outside of Boston that any team can, if Boston gets bounced, you can easily make a finals run. So
Yeah.
it's definitely interesting. Detroit's a little behind the 8 ball. This was the year they should have made the play-in at the very least.
Yeah.
Or at least just missed by a game, but winning 14 games of basketball, winning the same amount of games that the Celtics lost, is not a good look. So there's definitely a lot to be seen. Do you see any hope for Detroit going forward with this guy in charge?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start off with who they're drafting. Who are they projected to pick?
The latest mock draft I saw was Matas Buzelis, which means you're resting that on a G League Ignite player.
Okay.
Big
So
body.
what do you think about the fit though? Because they do need a big body.
They do
Yeah.
need
Have
a
a
big
bunch
body.
of guards, right?
I think Antoine's right. They need vets. They need someone, because obviously they have $70 million cap space to spend through trades.
I
or
think-
if they sign Tobias Harris outright or something like that, they
right.
definitely have the flexibility to make moves.
Right.
I think it's really just a matter of just all being on the right page and kind of getting the lineups right, because there's no more distractions now. There's no more Killian Hayes
Right.
eating up minutes and everything like
Nope.
that. I expect if Osser's healthy or if Asar's healthy for next season, I expect Monty to start him. He
Yeah.
should be started. I don't know why he was DNPing him in a lot of games.
Yep.
Weird.
You'll see a lot more impact from some of the bench guys. I think Fontecchio's due for a good year.
I love him.
I think
he's so great.
I think you're also going to get more minutes from Marcus Sasser next year, who I think
Sasser's
could really
a
improve.
big rookie.
So it's interesting times in Detroit. Honestly, they've been so bad. I think it's an improvement, even winning 20 games next season.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna go out on a limb and say I expect them to make the play-in next year.
Ooh.
Oh, I think they should. I think if Donovan Clingan falls to them, that is the perfect rim protector for them.
Okay.
Duran, you probably move on from.
I don't know if you could probably play them together. I don't know, because the double big this year was so bad, but at the same time you were rolling it out with either Bagley or Isaiah Stewart. So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think Duran's not the greatest shooter, so I think if you can get a good shooting big, but I think they definitely need some vets. I think that's more important right now than because Cade's going to blossom if you put NBA players around him.
Yes.
Right now, he just really hasn't had much of that outside of Jaden Ivey.
Yeah.
So I think with Detroit, they should try and make the play in next season. They have to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as bad as the East is, I just don't see many teams that are going to get worse. I just can't.
No.
There's just I expect Charlotte to be better than them next season.
Oh, yeah. We hope.
They have the better coach. I do think they have the better GM.
Yeah.
So
It's gonna be tight
yeah.
again though.
it's going to be tight, man. It's
a
going to
lot of young teams, but they got to get better.
Yeah, as long as they can avoid any ridiculous losing streaks, as long as they don't flirt with bad history, I think they'll be okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you have early record seed predictions for them?
No, I think we got to do that after free agency and the draft.
Well, we can do that too. But any early sort of, I know you said play in.
I say 10. They just make it in.
I think the 10 seed's viable
fine.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I think if you get a healthy Cade for the entire season, it's very doable.
Yeah. I agree
But
with that.
or we could be wrong and they could win 12 games next season.
Oh,
So
Everybody needs to be gone at that point.
everyone needs to go at that point.
Even
That's- Even Cade.
Even Cade, yes.
How much longer until Cade asks out? I mean,
Right.
you can't blame
No.
him. He does.
End of the rookie deal.
Because, yes, I think
Right.
they're picking up his fourth-year option, obviously. They're not
Yeah.
going to decline it.
Right.
So we'll see, because he was drafted in 21, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm assuming they'll either just have him opt in or they'll sign him to the DRE next offseason.
Yeah.
Or this offseason they actually can, because
They
he was in
could.
the same draft class as Cam Thomas and Daron
Yeah.
Sharp. I know we have to pay them before next season. So
Yeah.
very interesting. But
All right.
we hope the Pistons bounce back, because it's just tough to watch. And I
Yeah.
think I really feel bad, because Cade deserves TV time, but Cade's got no help.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see if they
And-
draft.
yeah.
We'll see what they do about Monty, and we'll see what they do from here. But any final thoughts? No. All right, let's move on. All right, into the next segment. This probably will be our longest one of the episode, just because this has a lot of implications. So I'm sure, as you guys all know, at the end of next season, there's going to be a new media rights contract with the NBA, as far as who has rights to show all their games live and all that stuff. We knew Amazon was a company that was going to insert themselves into the mix, and the NBA obviously accepted, because Amazon is the new trend nowadays, I suppose, with premium services, because obviously you need Amazon Prime Video in order to watch these games. And we know we've seen, I think NFL games are on Amazon Prime now. So
Thursday night football.
Thursday night.
yeah, it's becoming the new way of televising games, as we're kind of transitioning away from cable. But obviously there is still, live TV, cable, primetime games. Currently it's just ESPN and TNT. And the NBA only chose one of them. And unfortunately, it was ESPN that stayed. They decided to go with NBC as the new home for national television games and the playoffs. And I believe they'll have the Western Conference Finals in 2026. And just all the even-numbered years. Excuse me. I believe the price NBC paid was $2.5 billion for the next 20-something years, I think. The NBA wanted TNT to overpay $2.8 billion.
Wow.
My voice cracked again. I'm so sorry. $2.8 billion. And they refused.
Yeah.
And next year will be the final year under this current media rights contract that was signed years back, which means that it is the final year of Inside the NBA. It's the final year of Kevin Harlan. It's the final year of Ian Eagle. It's the final year of Brian Anderson, Stan Van Gundy, Reggie Miller, Jamal Crawford,
That is
all of those guys.
crazy. Wait, so those guys they're not going to be commentating games no more?
No, they could.
Some might. It really depends on the announcers' contracts.
Yeah.
I think Kevin Harlan might be able to.
He should be.
But I know out of the Inside the NBA crew, Charles Barkley is the only one that's free when they lose the media rights.
Okay.
Because there's a clause in his contract that allows him to be a free agent, and he could sign with whoever, wherever. I imagine he'll probably go to ESPN. But this is definitely unprecedented times. I think this is a generational fumble by Turner, losing the media rights with probably the greatest show in sports, at least in my opinion. I think Inside the NBA is the pinnacle, and it's ending next year. And that sucks, because I think everyone loves, the four-man combo, Kenny, Shaq, Ernie, and the Chuckster. And, we did see TNT did get some college football playoff games for the next 5 years, but these
not
guys
the same.
these guys don't know shit about football like
Yeah.
they do basketball. So I'll go over to you first, Gio. Just your thoughts on this very somber times in the NBA.
I mean, it's really unfortunate because now 2K is going to have to get rid of the TNT halftime show with Shaq.
Oh,
no.
I just thought of that.
Oh.
And I don't know, who is it going to be now? It's going to be NBC?
We don't know.
We don't
Well,
know.
it's NBC,
That's up to
but
them.
do they do NBA Countdown? Do they
Right.
do whatever the NBA? Do they do Amazon?
Right.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Man, this sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. But it is, I don't know. I feel like it is a good, in terms of business, I think it's a good deal for the NBA. But in terms of the people watching it, obviously we'll be sad, but we're still going to watch the NBA because
right.
we're basketball fans, right?
Yeah.
So part of the reason why I think it's a good decision for the NBA is NBC, you can get that channel whether you have cable or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
But TNT, like if you didn't have cable and you only had, let's say, Netflix, Amazon, those like that, the whole, not the Fire Stick thing, but like if you didn't have cable, like Optimum, Verizon,
Yeah.
Cablevision TV, you wouldn't be able to watch a live game, which is
Right.
what I had.
Yeah.
We did not pay for Optimum because we felt like it wasn't a good deal. Instead we got Netflix, Amazon, and all those other things. So
Right.
this could actually help with viewership, believe it or not, because NBC, you can get that anywhere, like I said before.
Yeah, it's one of the primetime channels.
Right. So I like it because now I'll be able to watch more primetime NBA, but it's very sad because I won't be able to see Shaq and Chuck go at it back and forth. So
Yeah.
that I will absolutely miss. But
It really sucks because
Yeah.
like I think we all grew. I think they signed that contract around the time we were all born.
yeah, wow.
So
Yeah.
or at least a little bit after. I think I'm not sure exactly how long the contract was for, but we all grew up on this.
Yeah.
And obviously now in the world of social media, a lot of moments are iconic and they're more viral and they blow up a lot more. Any thoughts from you?
Yeah, it's just sad. I know, like, I don't know if they're gonna have trouble now with the national games being on NBC because even when they had terrible national games on TNT, they still tuned in to watch Inside the NBA.
Right.
Like, who's gonna be the crew for the pregame show at NBC? Like, is it gonna be the same four? It's probably not, but no one's gonna tune in to watch that.
No, it won't be them.
Whatever it
'cause
is.
The three of them are tied down under TNT.
Yeah.
They can't leave.
But yeah, there should have been some agreement to keep them there. I mean, that's like they did a documentary on that show.
Wow.
Like a 4-part documentary. Like that's how important and integral it was that they literally did a docuseries on it.
Yeah.
And you know, there's so many funny moments from, you know, the Christmas times where Shaq got pushed into a tree by Kenny Smith, who's half his size. To just so many things they did on the set. Ernie Johnson is a legend. He's been going through some tough times health wise, but he held it down. And he's a voice that you always knew in the back of your head what it sounded like. You know, that's Ernie. We know it's Ernie in the booth. We know, you know, even Chuck and Shaq, and the guests they had on there all the time. It's just, I don't know. No one's gonna replace them. Like I'm not gonna have the same amount of like joy watching a pregame show, even in the playoffs, without those four guys. I mean, if Charles leaves to go to ESPN with Stephen A., that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ESPN countdown crew, I get tired of.
I think they should have replaced ESPN with NBC.
I agree with
Personally,
that.
I think
Yeah.
you're seeing a very, especially even if you look at ESPN's fire sale last year or 2 years, no, last year after
Last
the NBA
year.
Finals,
Yeah.
a lot of the ball knowers got fired.
The problem with because ESPN, it's hard to cut Woj out and Windhorst.
Well, Woj and Windy are the
they got-
actual ball knowers, but the problem is they're promoting people that just try and get clicks, and you're seeing a lot of hate, you're seeing a lot of unethical takes, and it's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. And you know, you see someone like Malika Andrews and just a bunch of discourse, and she gets promoted.
Yeah.
So it's really like it's a hot topic, but I think TNT does a lot better for the league and a lot better for the
Yes.
game than ESPN.
1,000%.
But because ESPN and Disney have great relations with the NBA, they were obviously never going to sever ties with that. So that's why it was doomed for TNT from the start. And you know, at the end of the day, it's really on Turner for just not paying the 2.8 because that honestly, the extra $3 million probably, or the extra $300 million probably is worth it, or 300 million, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the crews are going to be for NBC. Who stays and who goes with ESPN. Who's going to do Amazon, because Amazon's going to be only streaming only.
yeah,
Who they're going to pick and choose with that. I'm sure there's going to be a female face that we know that's going to be on either one of those.
yeah,
If new guys come in that we know or someone don't know, I don't think TNT can get anything out of the NBA anymore. I mean, they still have March Madness, but that's only once every year.
yep.
Yeah, I don't know if Shaq, Ernie, and Kenny just call it a career.
I think Ernie might. I think
Yeah.
it was either Shaq or Chuck said in an interview like last week that Ernie just might retire.
Yeah.
Wow.
right after this, and
Yeah.
it's just a shame because he could have kept going for like a really long time.
Yeah.
But like, I think I would. There's definitely some faces I would like to see on that NBC crew. Like Kevin Garnett, I think would be a great
Yes.
fit.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
Not only Kevin Garnett, but there's like a whole bunch of guys that are ready.
Yeah.
They're ready. Like I feel like we're entering a new era.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's done away with the old, and now these new guys that are talented in this way, they're ready. I think they're ready to show out.
Do you think we're going to get a less filtered version of Inside the NBA next year?
Yeah.
Since there's really no repercussions for anything at that point.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think they're going to try to replicate that to some degree. But
There's-
it's not going to be the same.
There's probably going to be some questionable things said next season because there's nothing. They got nothing to lose at this point except for maybe Barkley. But yeah, it's just wild. It's just times are changing in the NBA. With this media rights deal, contracts are going to go through the absolute roof. You're probably going to see, guys like Giannis and Jokic sign like $450 million contracts within the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, this is I think the most lucrative offer ever for anything NBA related. And this will suffice up until probably like the early 2040s, I think, if it's a 20-year deal. But yeah, Amazon, ESPN, and not TNT, NBC, yeah. And obviously there'll be games on NBA TV's cable channel that I know, although they might not get playoff games anymore
I hope they don't.
because
that
that
channel.
kind of sucks.
Yeah, the
But-
NBA TV channel, it's like,
I don't like it.
they could have did so much with their own channel because the NFL Network is big for the NFL. Red Zone is big. NBA TV didn't really do something similar to Red Zone. It's kind of harder to do it. With them.
Well, they only do
You
it
know.
because it's a filter to League Pass.
Yeah.
They want you to buy League Pass, which is expensive as shit.
Yeah, they could have did something like that.
Can I not skip David Aldridge in 2K?
Yo, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Wait, David Aldridge opening up the games like on 2K?
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Scram A?
Yeah.
I think
Man,
you all,
I'm gonna miss that.
bro, this is gonna
I'm gonna miss
bro.
skipping David Aldridge, man.
Yeah. I mean, we don't play 2K as much as we did growing up, but that was a staple when we did play, and we went right to the video game versions of Ernie, Charles, Ken,
Yeah.
I am David
and
Aldridge,
Shaq.
David.
Oh man.
It's David
Skip
Aldridge.
right- So if any of you have 2K, which I hope a lot of you do, don't skip ever again.
Yeah.
Let the man cook.
Soak it in.
Soak it in. Let everything run its course
Yeah.
because we only have one more season left.
Man.
And then
Yeah.
it's gone.
It's so NBC. I've always known for football. It's gonna be weird because
Yeah.
I never tuned into NBC for basketball.
I mean, they only have one football game a week. They only have the Sunday night game.
Yeah.
Still, it's like
No, it's
classic.
weird.
Yeah. Well,
We're all used to ABC and TNT.
the NBC used to have the NBA back in like the 90s and the 80s. So
Okay.
Yeah.
bring back that nostalgic intro, and I think
Okay.
you probably got something going. But
Yeah.
we all know it's not the same.
So does that mean? Do you know who Al Michaels is?
Yes,
Oh, of course.
Is he
Love
gonna
Al
be calling
Michaels.
NBA games?
that'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Al's a great guy, but he's on.
He's really
no,
good.
Al's on Amazon. He's tied to Amazon
Is
right
he
now.
now?
Yeah.
Oh, he
I
changed.
thought he
He's
was
tied to
on
Amazon.
You know who's still at NBC? Mike Tirico.
Mike Tirico and
Okay.
Chris Collinsworth
This-
do the Sunday night.
That's
games.
good.
This year at the Olympics, the three commentators for basketball are going to be Mike Tirico, Noah Eagle, your lookalike,
Okay.
and Snoop Dogg.
What?
Snoop is a great commentator.
Snoop
Is
is
he
gonna
actually-
Snoop's gonna be a color
Snoop-
commentator for the
Yeah,
Olympics this
Wow.
year.
Snoop is a
that's
great
good.
commentator
Interesting.
for a lot of things. Yeah, but Al Michaels, when Amazon got TNF, he moved over to Kirk Herbstreit.
Right.
So he could do the Amazon games for basketball,
Yeah, probably.
if need be,
Right.
with Kirk.
I mean, Amazon's probably going to hire their own crew. They probably might even chuck an offer at Barkley. They're going to throw offers at everyone.
Amazon has money. They want to get into sports. Netflix is getting into it now with the Christmas games this year only on Netflix.
Wow.
That's wild.
That is wild.
So
That is wild.
they're getting into it. Every streaming service wants a piece of. Yeah, Netflix just
For
got
the-
the Christmas Day games for NFL,
For
only
NFL.
on Netflix.
Wow.
NBA's ESPN is the NBA Christmas stuff.
Yeah,
That's weird.
Yeah.
Right?
You got to pay
Going
what?
to Netflix?
Yeah, to pay $16 a month to watch
Yeah.
an NFL
I
game
think
on
the
Christmas
only
Day.
streaming service that does not have Hulu has live sports. That's their quote in their commercials. Hulu has live sports.
Not sponsored.
Paramount Plus has Paramount Plus has soccer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Max doesn't really have. I know Max is trying to get into some things too.
Well, Comcast started a streaming bundle of you can get Disney. It was Apple TV Plus. It was Apple TV Plus, Peacock, and something else for like
Was it Disney?
$15.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Apple TV Plus only has soccer, MLS.
Yeah.
Peacock has Prem, WWE.
Peacock also has some sports shows. I know Rich
Yeah.
Eisen does a show on there.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Netflix and Amazon are going to be the ones getting big games.
No, it's still going to
Coming
be. It's still going to for NBA. It's still going to be ESPN.
No, not for NBA. I'm just saying streaming wise.
Because ESPN's still going to have access to the NBA finals.
Yeah.
And well, the games will be on ABC most likely.
Yeah.
But I think most likely NBC and ESPN will get the conference finals. They'll alternate every year like they usually do. And you'll see ESPN get all the main big games, but it's that Tuesday, Thursday slot during the regular season. That's probably where NBC is going to get it.
Yeah.
Essentially, but only one. At least we get one more season of this. I thought it ended after this season.
No, yeah, one more.
But
That's fine with
yeah,
me.
I guess this is the real last dance. Then I suppose. I guess
yeah.
Michael Jordan walked so these guys could run. But yeah, any final thoughts, words on this?
We're going to just enjoy the
Yeah.
closing season next year. If they do something
Yeah.
nice, tributes. I'm sure they're going to be big tributes for that
Yeah.
when it happens. So
Yeah.
it'll be a last somber show once we get to that point.
So whoever makes the Eastern Conference Finals will be the last series to ever air the NBA for now on TNT.
Please be the Knicks.
So
Please be the Knicks. It's only right.
Yeah.
we know it's not happening,
It's only right. It's only right.
but it's the Celtics and whoever, essentially.
Yeah. We'll see what happens next year.
Exactly. So, yep, and we wish everyone with TNT all the best. Obviously,
Yeah.
I imagine not a lot of people are. They're still going to have their jobs. It's just what they're going to do. I'm not sure. Maybe the TNT crew starts a podcast with TNT and they kind of
Yeah.
do some off live TV stuff.
Even the guys behind
Yeah.
the cameras as well.
Yeah. So
Not just the guys on air.
that's something we'll see. But I think it's time to move on.
Yes.
All right. I think we're done with all the news stuff for now. So now we can kind of just get back to the basics of the NBA playoffs. It is still playoff time at the end of the day. So this, I think, is our first episode with the conference finals. Now, I know we previewed this last week. A lot has changed since that. There's been some injuries. There's been some comebacks. There's been some blowouts. There's been a lot. We don't really have to go with a set order. I'll kind of just throw it over to one of you guys to which series we want to get into first.
I think we should probably just knock out the one that we think is a wash, which is Celtics and Pacers.
Yeah.
Tonight's game 3. We're thinking the series is going to be over by Wednesday, the time you guys see this. But Hallie left the game 2 with an injury. I think it was a strain.
Yeah, it was the same hamstring.
Same hamstring he pulled.
Injured earlier. in
He
the season.
re-injured. He's out for game 3 tonight in Indy.
Yep.
So that's, of course, the biggest loss they could have suffered there without him. And TJ McConnell is probably going to fill in that spot for him.
I imagine so. He's going to have a lot on his.
Yeah.
Bro, a TJ McConnell legacy game though. I think Indiana has not lost at home this playoffs yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've seen a lot of uncharacteristic things from Indiana. Because I think me and you both thought if they were on their shit, they were going to win, and we saw them do everything they needed to do in Game 1 to win, just like the last series.
Yeah.
Except this time they were the ones that cost themselves the game.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, but look, the Pacers are one of those teams they can get hot, and Tyrese doesn't have to be there.
Right.
Those guys can shoot it, and when they get hot, and I think they can do it. I think if you get TJ McConnell from the first 2 rounds, I think he was more productive than Halliburton when he wasn't playing good. Right.
So I mean, I'm curious to see what lineup Rick Carlisle, chucks out. Game starts at 8:30. It's still about an hour and a half from the time of recording when we'll find out the starting lineup. So the recording will be over by then, so we won't know. But presumably, when this episode comes out, I have the schedule right here. Wednesday will be Game 5 of the Pacers and Celtics. So both series could potentially be over by then. But we'll get into Wolves Map in a little bit.
Yeah.
Just kind of a recap. Game 1 was I don't know how to describe Game 1. It was so good and so bad at the same time. You saw Boston and Indiana just consistently chip leads to each other, and the Pacers went on a really nice run at the end of the 4th, and with 30 seconds left, up 5 or 6. 2 turnovers and a Jaylen Brown corner 3 later, and the game is tied. And then Rick Carlisle draws up the worst play I think I've ever seen for Halliburton at the end of the game, and then unfortunately they lose in overtime. And then in Game 2, Halliburton goes down. The Pacers just didn't have it past the second quarter, and it was just complete capitulation. And now you're down 0-2 again, but this time there's no Halliburton for the foreseeable future, because even though he's out tonight, he's doubtful for Game 4 on Monday. So it's not good. On Boston's end, Jaylen Brown has been by far the best player in this series for the Celtics. And it makes sense. He's making the most amount of money for now. But Drew Holiday's questionable tonight with an illness. Still no word yet on if he's playing or not. But I will send it over to you, Gio. My question for you, my good sir, is what would it take for Indiana to get back into this series now that Halliburton's let's say Halliburton's out for the series?
Okay.
What does it take, or even if he's playing, but it's like, he's like James Harden against the Bucks where he's hobbled.
Right.
If Halliburton's out for the series, what do you think it would take for Indiana to get themselves back in, just like they did in the previous round?
It almost seems like an impossible task for them right now, because they're going up against the Celtics, who is like pretty much a super team, and they have their all-star injured. So it's like an impossible task if you really think about it. But what we've seen in these playoffs is when a player goes down, like for example, Jared Allen didn't play, Cavs win.
Yeah.
Or was Rudy Gobert didn't play, Timberwolves win.
Kawhi
Leonard doesn't play, Clippers win.
Yeah.
So I think we'll see one of those games get stolen. I think so. One of those guys is gonna have to step up big time, and I think it's gonna be Nesmith personally.
Okay.
He's already been stepping up big time, but I think he's gonna take another step.
Yeah.
And they just have to have one of those games where everyone's just hitting and just playing with the extra adrenaline rush because their best guy is out.
Right.
So I think they'll steal a game, but I don't know if they could really win it. I don't know if I can say that. It's already 2-0.
It really depends, because that kind of segues over into the question I want to ask you, Antoine. Do you expect the Celtics to put this to bed in 4? Do you expect them to keep their foot on the gas, or are we going to see classic Boston, undisciplined, uncharacteristic, especially even if they don't have Drew Holiday for one game, I think it's fine. But what do you think the Celtics need to just prevent?
I think definitely they need to prevent losing 2 games in Indy. They lose one, I think. Well, actually, they should actually just take this series. I don't think they should bring it on back to Boston at all.
Right.
I think first time Indiana has a really bad vibe this year with game ones against us. Now in Boston, I don't know what happened in the first round.
I believe they won game 1 in Milwaukee.
Okay. Oh, yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but ever since then, game ones are not really their thing now, for some reason.
Yeah.
But for them, I think it's important for Boston to be as rested as possible going into the finals.
Yeah.
Because it's a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing because then the momentum's off depending if the Dallas series does go to 7 games. If Minnesota comes back, then you got a lot of rest and you kind of lose your juju, your momentum, whatever. And you have the winning team in the other series on that juju, that momentum going into the finals.
Right.
Now, for Boston, I think for some reason I feel like in this series they're more eager to get it done because they're so close to getting there. I feel like in the beginning of the playoffs, you kind of like, we have a long way to get there. We can drop a game and we'll be okay. But now I feel like they realize, oh, crap, we're 2 wins away from getting to where we need to be. And then it gets to winning those 4 games as more important as possible. Jaylen Brown looks like he's focused. He's a guy that I love watching a little bit more than Tatum, actually. I love Jaylen Brown.
I actually would agree with you.
I agree too.
I
agree.
love Jaylen Brown's game. I like him watching better than Tatum because I feel like he's less of a trash talker. He's a little more humble. I don't want to say Tatum's not humble. Tatum is humble himself.
Is Tatum much of a trash talker?
Tatum's more of a whiner.
I think he's a showboater.
Yeah. I think for me, Tatum seems to over analytic? I don't know if there's like a word. Overanalyze. That was. I think he overanalyzes his game a lot, and it's just there are times where he just doesn't play naturally.
I think
and he kind of just forces up threes. Like Jaylen Brown has a chip on his shoulder just from being doubted previously, and obviously now that he signed the big contract, he's got that chip on his shoulder, and he's starting to prove a point. Especially because kind of what you were saying. I wouldn't say it's like necessarily because they're so close. I think it's how their season ended last year, and I think the season prior. Because Tatum did say they ran out of gas against the Warriors in the finals. You need to be rested, and I tweeted this out a couple weeks ago. I can put the tweet on the screen if you guys want me to.
Yeah.
I had said that it's Boston's to lose because I think the one thing we forgot to take into account, yes, the West is stacked, but there's going to be so many tough matchups in the West that they're just going to be beating each other up. Like we saw Denver didn't play their best game and they exerted all their energy against the Lakers. And Minnesota didn't play their best game midway through the Denver series and exerted all their energy. And I think it's imperative for the West team to kind of, whoever's winning, to just finish this out. Because if you got to play a rested Boston with Porzingis still resting, he's probably going to come back for the finals.
Probably.
I don't think you need to play him now for the rest of the series, no?
No, not at all. I don't think you need. Horford's been doing just fine.
Yeah.
I think if this becomes a Celtic, we were talking about this last week about 1A and 1B. Celtics have their 1A, 1B, so does Mavs. I think that the finals is going to be a series of who's the better 1B, Brown or Irving. Who steps up? Brown clearly is the one right now with Tatum doing as much as he can. Like I said, Brown and Kyrie are two different players.
Yeah.
One is more experienced. One is definitely getting there. When they drafted him out of Iowa, I loved him. He was great in Iowa. And then he was the guy there until Tatum got there, but he's still the guy. They both are the guys.
I would actually argue that the Celtics are the only team in the league that have 2 number ones. I don't think it's a 1A, 1B.
Yeah,
I think they're so even.
I enjoy Jaylen Brown a lot better than Tatum. I like how he plays.
Think of it this way. Tatum got first team All-NBA. Jaylen Brown didn't even get third. So I think it's a pretty clear 1A, 1B.
Yeah, he got the most votes for after falling out of third team All-NBA.
I think if he wasn't forced into MVP talks, I don't think he would have been as high.
Yeah.
But I do think I think out of all the top 2 options in the NBA, I do think they're the most even. Having a 1, I think it's just 2 number ones. Like it'll say a T1, T1. They're tied.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really, because they each step up in different games. And,
Yeah.
you'll see Brown drop 40, and you saw Tatum drop 51 in Game 7 last year. So I wouldn't say they equally rely on each other. I don't think it's more of a one slightly less.
Yeah.
The media just views them as slightly less.
That's true.
Brown isn't talked about enough, I think, in a lot of circles. Because obviously Tatum, they always go to him first. Oh, Tatum fails. They don't really talk about Jaylen Brown.
Why do you think that is?
failing them. I think because they expect a lot more. I think the media expects a lot more from Tatum than Brown, which I find a little interesting because Brown and Tatum should be held both accountable because they're both the stars of that team. But I think just Tatum has a different type of, view in the people's eyes of the star for that team, and Brown is just the 1B like it would be for Kyrie for the Mavs. But they both should be expected of something in the playoffs, not one fails, one succeeds.
Who got there first?
Brown was the year before.
So Brown was
sure?
Brown was the year before, 100%.
You sure Tatum was?
Because Tatum, they went on the run during Tatum's rookie years.
Brown was the year
already.
before. Brown was the year before.
Okay.
I remember 100%.
But when they first got there, Tatum had a very good first impression with the Celtics, and I think 80% of how you view a person is based on first impression.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And our first impression of Jason Tatum was outstanding. You remember the dunk on Braun in the playoffs?
He also was a
toe-to-toe.
He also was a Dookie. So
Yeah.
that's always been
a lot of
far.
expectations.
Right.
He was seen as a very family-oriented man with his son on the court. We saw those videos with Deuce always with him.
Right.
As a father, not being married, of course, a single father, and taking care of his son at the same time as being a rookie.
Right.
So
I think the NBA viewed him as a potential face of the NBA.
yeah, I think
Because of the way he played against Braun in that first series, as a rookie.
Yeah.
And then also continuing, he's a family guy, he's a great player, all that. So I think that definitely aids to why he's viewed as the 1A over Jaylen Brown.
And he's only
19.
19.
No, Tatum.
Yeah.
I love Tatum because growing up, I did love watching Duke basketball. Who didn't love watching Duke basketball? And they had their guys that failed.
Yeah, I didn't really
Like-
watching Duke basketball either.
I mean, I think I did, but they had guys who failed miserably, like Jahlil Okafor, Jabari Parker,
Yeah, there was some bums in
Kyle
there.
Singler. No one's.
Kyle.
But the guys that succeeded, that came out, Tatum,
Yeah.
Paolo. There's a lot of other guys in there. Kyrie, who didn't play a lot of Duke, but when he did get drafted, a whole other
You
story.
even had some good role guys throughout the year, like JJ Redick.
Yeah. Some guys
Yes,
like that.
yeah, he did go to Duke.
Seth Curry made a decent career for himself.
Yeah.
So
Duke, Coach K made a lot of great players. He also made a lot of busts.
that's going to
made
happen
into the
when you,
league.
when you have a one and done type school. It's always going to be risky because not everyone's body's ready for the NBA.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why I have so much respect for Gonzaga, Kansas, and Virginia, because those three programs will typically keep more players for more than 1 year.
Yeah, Zion too. Recently, and then Paolo was after.
RJ.
RJ, Cam, all those guys.
Yep.
That was their big three. But
Yeah, there was a lot.
Oh no, Davis went to Kentucky actually.
Yeah.
yeah, this year the Duke players, I guess Filipowski is the big one out of there. Nothing really
Yeah.
else coming out.
There's not the highest expectations for him.
No, but
There isn't really that many high expectations for the draft classes. But I think just in short with that, just before we move on, because with Tatum, I feel like there's just too much. It's more narratives. It's more talk on like from the media's end with him. I think if he just wasn't bothered as much, then it's something we can. If he wasn't bothered as much, he would probably be playing a lot better. Because you're dealing with all that pressure.
Yeah.
Brown's got really nothing to play around with. Yes, he has the big contract, but that's about to get passed by Tatum's anyways.
Right.
But look, as far as this series goes, I think it's over. I think the Pacers would have come back if Halliburton was healthy, but I think now I feel like I usually am the kind of person that likes to stick, but I just don't think I can anymore with based on these circumstances.
Yeah.
They'll get you one game, but I'm going to switch to Celtics in 5.
Okay.
okay.
What'd you have before us? Pacers
So I had Pacers in 7 without Porzingis, but if Porzingis came back, I had Celtics in 7.
Right. Okay.
So
I think
flip.
I had Celtics in 6.
you had Celtics in 6 or 7.
6.
You
I
had
think.
Pacers in
I did.
7.
I
So
did.
where's
Yeah.
that at now?
I'm gonna flip. I'm gonna make it.
5 or 6.
I'm gonna make it Celtics in 6.
All
I
right.
think they get 2.
Yeah.
I could see it, but I don't think it's doable.
Right. What about like Pacers in 9?
Nah.
Always possible, but
You never know.
In another reality.
Yeah.
yeah, in another reality. Well, and then we don't know if the Celtics stay fully healthy for the rest of the series. That's
Right.
remains
Yeah.
to be seen. But it's looking like Holiday. They're probably going to rest. I would imagine so. Especially if they win tonight, there's no need to play
No.
Game 4.
Not at all.
But this is definitely much more like the Boston we know from last year when they failed to do anything against Miami in the first 3 games. They kind of let their mental get the better of them. So yeah. Any final thoughts on this series?
Let's move on to the other one.
Yeah.
I assume we think the Celtics win tonight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
They won.
Easily.
Yeah. So I think Game 4
I'm
is
gonna
the
say
one for Indiana.
116 to 92.
I'll go 124 to 105.
Okay.
I think I'll go 112 to 98.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't mind it at all. I think Siakam's going to really have a big game regardless.
He has to.
So we're gonna get a vintage Toronto spicy P game.
Yeah.
We need.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we wish the best of luck to both teams. Congrats to whatever fan base makes the finals if this finishes before our next episode. Idealistically, right? If both of these series finish before, if these series don't go to 7, then that weekend will be our full NBA Finals preview. So just a little sneak peek for y'all. We'll really just go in depth on each team. We'll go through their offseason, their regular season, any moves they made, any specific key X factors, some matchups and stuff. It might be a longer episode, but this will be our full finals preview before, and it'll drop the day before Game 1. So make sure you stay tuned for that because Game 1 is slated to drop on Thursday, June 6th. Hopefully episode 8 goes up on June 5th. So we shall see. And let's transition now over to the Western Conference Finals.
Let's do it.
This has been a really good series, I think. I think the games have been a lot more electric than previous rounds. Currently, the Dallas Mavericks are up 2-0. Funnily enough, they scored 108 and 109 points in their first 2 games, which is pretty funny considering they scored 106 in the first 2 games against Denver. So they took Game 1, 108 to 105. I think they clearly dominated that entire game. Throughout the whole 48 minutes. That's the most important thing in the playoffs is playing good for 48. Game 2, though, this was one that was more inexcusable for Minnesota if you kind of look at it from that perspective because the Mavericks both teams actually shot 12 of 31 from 3, which is bad enough for Minnesota considering they shot 53s in Game 1. The Mavericks were very inefficient from behind the arc. They were not hitting free throws. Kyrie went 2 of 6, I think, from the free throw line.
That's not him.
It's not him at all. Kyrie's typically up into the high 90s.
Yes.
So that all happens. Minnesota has like a 15, 16 point lead, and you lose the game by 1. Luka hits a game-winning 3 over Rudy Gobert, who had two very, very bad defensive possessions at the end. And the Mavericks take Game 2, 109 to 108, going 2-0 up in the series. Game 3 will be tomorrow at the time of recording. Game 4, I believe, Game 4 is, I think, Tuesday. So
Yeah.
I'll throw it over to you first, Antoine. General thoughts with the. Actually, I'll let you decide. Which team do you want to talk about, the Wolves or the Mavs?
I'll talk about my pick, which was the Mavs, because I was the outlier.
Okay, so we'll talk to you about the Wolves in a minute. What are you seeing from Dallas? What do you think they need to do from here after your thoughts to kind of close this out?
I'm seeing a Luka that wants it a lot more than he did in the first 2 rounds. I think he's in their head a lot now.
Yeah.
And the game winner yesterday was the icing on top after game 1 with the comeback.
Yeah.
The role guys are stepping up big. Minnesota, I don't know what's going on now. They're going back to Dallas for 2 games. They had to win at least one of those games at home. Now you're down 2-0 going into Dallas in their rowdy ass crowd.
Well, I mean, me playing devil's advocate, they did the same thing to Denver. Mm-hmm. So if Denver's the pinnacle as far as the team to beat, right? If you can beat them, you can beat anyone. And if they did what they did, you can do what they did. That doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. But if you can beat the defending champs lose their first 2 games at home to you, and they go back and win the next 3. If you're Minnesota, I don't see why you can't do that.
Yeah. I know I had Mavs in 7. I'm going to bring it down to Mavs in 6.
Ooh.
I think they definitely keep it to 6 games, not 7.
I could see that happening. It really comes down to what Minnesota does mentally. And that's where kind of my question for you comes in, because we've seen a Minnesota team dominate the entire season at home. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Cat goes down, and they kind of faltered off that 1 seed. They sweep Phoenix. They do what they do against Denver. They've now lost, even if you go back to the Denver series, they have now lost 4 of their last 5 home games. So that's games 3, 4, and it's games 3, 4, 1, and 2. Mm-hmm. Their only win came in game 6 of the second round. And going back to Ant's played bad in 8 of his last 9 games. Just crazy inefficiency outside of game 5 against the Nuggets. Games 4 and then 6 through now have just been really, really inefficient, just not his best basketball. So are you concerned for the Wolves moving forward? Are you concerned that do you think they could win 4 of the next 5 games?
I think Anthony Edwards is injured. I'm just going to start off with that. He's not the type of player that's going to make excuses, though. He's not the type of player that's going to be like, oh, my tailbone hurts, or my ankle that twisted against the Suns, that's hurting right now, too. Like, I'm sure he's feeling that pain, but he's not going to make excuses.
Right.
But can they do it without an efficient Anthony Edwards? I don't think so.
No.
Can they do it without an Anthony Edwards that's always attacking the rim like he did in the regular season and against the Suns in the first round? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
I think Timberwolves comes down to team basketball.
Exactly.
And I don't think if one player's not playing well, I think the whole thing goes to shit.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're seeing right now before our eyes. I still think the game I still think it's going to go like 6-7 games.
Yeah.
Either way, because I just think the Timberwolves are such a well put together team.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the Timberwolves are going to win anymore. I kind of lost confidence in that pick because I just feel like AE is not himself right now, or he's not 100% healthy.
Right. That's kind of the thing I was kind of going at. I'm trying to find his game log from the last few games.
Yeah.
To kind of just give you guys an insight. See all. There we go. Thank you. Because I don't have, for some reason, real offloaded on my thing. So otherwise I could check all the games from there. So with Ant, right, we saw just really he'll get a lot of high point games, but like ever since game 2 when he dropped 43 points on 17 of 29 shooting, I'll just kind of give you guys some insight. We could even put the stat lines up on the screen to the left or right, whatever side it is. So game 3, he had 27 points, 11 of 17 shooting, 1 of 4 from 3. So not bad. Mm-hmm. I guess every player can have some sort of regression to the mean because he was playing so well to begin with. Mm-hmm. Obviously, game 4, 19 points, 8 of 15 shooting. Just
8 of 15?
8 of 15.
It's
So
not
good
horrible.
efficiency,
Yeah.
but you're Anthony Edwards on the Wolves. You need to be
Yeah.
taking at least 25 shots a game,
yeah.
without a doubt from there. Game 5 was very well, right? 44 points, 16 to 25 shooting. That's really efficient. That was his best game of note or of late. Unfortunately, they lost that game, so they wasted a masterclass. Then that was game 4. I'm sorry, the fonts are screwed up. So game 3, he had 19 points. Game 4, he had 44. Game 5, 18 points, 5 of 15.
Yeah,
I mean,
so this is when it starts.
This is when it starts.
Yeah.
This is when that was the game Jokic popped off,
Yeah.
and it was complete domination.
Yeah.
Then game 6, he has 27 points on 8 of 17 shooting. So we're kind of in the 50% range still a little bit, but 4 of 9 from 3 is also not bad. Game 7, I ain't gonna lie, he got bailed out in game 7, and I love Anthony Edwards' game, but 16 points on 6 of 24 shooting, and 5 of those field goals were either dunks or layups.
Yeah.
Not good, or 4 of them. I think he made 2 threes, but
Probably the worst game he had so far.
oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
And they won.
2 of 10 from 3 because Cat showed up,
Right.
and because J Max showed up.
Right.
Without them, the Nuggets would be playing right now. And then you get into games 1 and 2 of the Mavs series. 19 points in game 1 on 6 of 16. 5 of 12 from 3 is decent for a
Shooting
non-sharp
12
shooter.
shots from behind the arc for Anthony Edwards is that's
We
not
saw
a
the
good
same
sign
thing
to
from
me.
Jokic in game 7. He just started jacking up threes.
That tells me they're tired.
Yeah,
both of
exactly.
them.
And in game 2 last night, you saw 21 points on 5 of 17, 2 of 7 from 3. So
2 of 17?
2 of 7. Gave you a little heart attack there.
Okay.
But are you concerned with Ant for the rest of the series?
Yeah, like I said, I think he's injured. I
No,
think
but
he's exhausted.
besides the injury, but do you think kind of like the Denver series, or it's hard to say because like how much of the Denver series do you think amounted to this?
Like, how much did that take out of him?
Mm-hmm.
A lot. They're the defending champions. You have to give it literally your all into that. And now you have to come and guard Kyrie. That's a lot to ask, man. I don't care how much of an athlete you are, like Anthony Edwards is. That's a lot to ask for. So
It's like doing like a 600-pound deadlift and then having to go pull a truck afterwards.
no, literally, it's like the Murph challenge I did today.
Yeah.
Literally, almost impossible. But yeah, man, I don't know.
What do you think? Like, what do you think the Wolves would need to do to kind of reserve his energy better? Because they're obviously not going to bench him. Why would you? That's stupid.
What can you do besides limit minutes?
I guess
right?
maybe you put him in a more favorable matchup that's not going to take all the wind out of him.
Well, on defense.
Yeah,
Okay.
because if
Who would you have him guard?
anyone not named Kyrie Irving or Luka Doncic, personally,
But there's big guys out there. Even Derrick Jones is a lot to handle.
he can handle Derrick Jones.
Okay.
I think athletically they both cancel each other out
Okay.
to some extent.
Yeah.
But I think because obviously you're not going to put him on PJ, you're not going to put him on Gafford. But I mean, Kyrie, like you're not stopping Kyrie, you're not stopping Luka. So why are you wasting all your energy to begin with? It's kind of my thing with it. But do you obviously say now Mavs in 6? You're sticking with Wolves in 7.
I am.
I'm gonna change to Mavs in 7.
Okay.
I do think the Wolves get back in, but I think just like the series before, I just can't see them winning 4 of the last 5 games in the series. I think it's tough.
That's tough.
It's very tough. And I'm kind of going off the basis of if Denver couldn't do it, the Suns couldn't even do it last year.
Yeah.
I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened in so long. So
Man, it's gonna take a lot, man. And if Edwards can pull it off, he is the official face of the NBA.
Yeah.
really,
The official.
Yeah.
If he
Okay.
can pull this off
Yeah.
Yeah.
after losing to a Luka Doncic game-winning 3, and now Edwards wins the next like 4.
yeah, could happen.
Come on
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Give it to
I
him.
have no problem with that.
And then let me close this segment with a question for all of us, I suppose, but mainly for Billy. I'll start with you. Whoever wins this series, right? We're not talking about the finals yet, but with Luka and Ant in specific, if they win this series, does that make them the best player in the world right now?
No.
Yes.
Which one? Or is
Whoever
it
wins.
both?
Whoever comes out on top, they're the best.
Do they need to win the finals to get that done, though?
Yes.
Officially, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
they need to. You're
Yeah.
I'm not giving anyone the best player in the world until they win that finals.
Okay.
But it's Ant or Luka.
Okay, that's fair. I'd probably say I'd put them up in that range with Giannis and Jokic.
Yes.
I probably wouldn't have them first. I think it would need to be a generational finals performance against Boston for me to even consider it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think if they get through this series, I think you're looking easy top 3
Yeah.
for either
That's
one.
fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
any final words on this series?
No.
I mean, I just feel like the Mavericks, they're more disciplined.
Right now.
And the Timberwolves are not. And that's what it comes down to.
Happy for Luka. This is probably the best team he's had.
Oh, definitely.
Yep.
Without a doubt.
And coaching, too. Jason Kidd's doing an outstanding
Yeah.
job.
He is coaching his ass off.
Bro, the Wolves have no idea how to handle the double screen on the top of the arc.
Yeah.
Luka and then Jones setting the first screen and then Gafford or Lively setting that second screen. They have no idea what to do to that.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they're just exhausted.
I'm pretty
One of
sure.
the two.
I'm pretty sure in this series, Lively's shooting like 68% from the field.
Yep.
And that's off of Luka dimes. So
Right.
it's like,
Yep.
Now, granted, he's not shooting the ball, but
right.
No.
Dunking
all
the
big
ball.
men will average anywhere from 60 to 70% from the field, like the good ones.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, game 3 is tomorrow in Dallas. So we'll see if the Mavs can keep this going. And I do think also Luka's further away from that knee soreness he was having in the first 2 rounds. So I think he's a lot more he's a lot more mobile now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Clearly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens, and we'll be talking about one of these teams in crazy depth next week. So
All right.
I think it's time to move on to the final segment.
Indeed.
All right, into the final segment of the show. Hope you guys are still with the flow of the video. Hope you guys are enjoying. So obviously, 2 episodes ago, in episode 5, we started a brand new segment at the end of each episode where one of us will raise a question or a debate topic for us to discuss. And everyone really seemed to like it, and I think all 3 of us like it as well. So we're going to keep doing it. We're just going to alternate each episode. So this week it is your turn. And then we're just going to go like serpentine, right? So I'll go the next one, or do we do snake and you do the one next week?
Nah.
No.
can
We'll go back to
around.
me.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah. So it'll be mine next week, but today it's all about that man, or I guess that man, whatever way I'm supposed to face on the far side of your screen. So Gio's got a good question for us to talk about, and whatever you guys think of the question he's about to ask, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. We do read every comment, and we even reply to them as well. So, Gio, the floor is yours. What you got for us today?
All right, gentlemen. Let's see. This is a very sort of general question, so just take it as you will. Okay, so has the draft, the NBA draft, has it gotten underwhelming because the NBA and the players in the NBA have gotten so good?
Ooh, I'll let you start.
What do we think?
Oh,
It's tough.
it's kind of underwhelming.
Has the NBA draft become underwhelming? Like there's less excitement or there's less emphasis on the NBA draft? And is that because the players in the NBA have gotten so good?
Oh, I don't know. I think we've seen a drop off in, I think, college talent from when we were growing up. We had a lot of college talent coming through the ranks. Now it's kind of like one and dones, international players that we don't know about because we don't watch them on college basketball television or March Madness themselves.
Right.
I don't think it's become that underwhelming. I think, well, for Wemby, like last year, it's not underwhelming.
Well, yeah.
Of
He's
course.
he's an outlier.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever see drafts be underwhelming until we see like players that maybe like we don't see an impact, I guess. But I think every player we've seen like they'll have some sort of impact that become stars. I do think that there's a drop off in talent. I think after like the lottery picks.
Okay.
I think after the lottery picks, it's kind of hit or miss.
Right.
You're either hitting on someone or you're missing on someone that's going to be in a G League or not really do much.
Well, past the lottery, you're really drafting on fit.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're drafting. You're not necessarily taking the best guy available.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know.
I disagree. I think
Yeah.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think right now, I think it's a bad time to talk about the draft now, considering how good last year's was.
Right.
That everyone's calling the 2024 draft bad. It's not. It's just bad compared to 2023. There's no Wembys. There's no Brandon Millers. There's no Scoots. There's none of that. So like. And if let me counter your question with a question.
Okay.
If the NBA draft is becoming underwhelming, why is there going to be a second night dedicated to the second round?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we saw last year the 41st pick in the draft
Right.
win a championship as the Finals MVP. So I don't necessarily think the draft is underwhelming. I just think the draft is becoming predictable. I think it's becoming more boring in the sense that Shams and Woj are leaking the picks before they even come out. You know who the number one pick is going to be all the time. I think from an entertainment perspective, the draft is underwhelming. I think there's definitely stuff they can do to make it better
Well, like what?
by not leaking the picks. And
Yeah.
I think, you know,
They used to be really bad with that. Now they've gotten better. I think they signed an agreement with the NBA to not leak picks 5 minutes before, or even
Woj stopped. Shams
yeah,
didn't.
when the pick literally became on to the next one, they literally posted like a second after the pick is in. This is who it is, and the clock is
Right.
still running. It just changed over, and they're already tweeting who it is.
Yeah.
So just a reminder for y'all real quick, if any of you follow Shams, have his notifications on, mute that man, please, because he was leaking picks in the NFL draft last month.
Yeah.
Like what kind? Like why?
So
Like
annoying.
I don't understand. Like are you that horny for clicks? Like it just doesn't make sense to me. But like I think that's one way. I do think the second night's going to be good because there's really going to be some gems in the second round throughout just NBA history that are going to be just there. And there have been some good second round picks over the years.
Of course.
So I know Gilbert Arenas, until Jokic had arrived, was the best second round pick ever. So you're starting to see more talent, and that's, I think, because how talented the league is. Maybe you see the lottery expand at some point down the line. Also, maybe it expands to 16 teams if you lose in the first round or something. I don't know, but as far as the draft, I don't think the draft is underwhelming. I think the perception and showing of the draft is, if
So
that
there's-
makes any
There's
sense.
things that the NBA can do to make it more, I don't know, lively or more just attention around it.
Right, because I mean,
Sorry.
think about this. This past draft, 2023, we knew the top 5 picks.
Yeah.
Like this is when it's supposed to be exciting, where you don't know who's going number 1 overall.
Right.
Obviously, Wemby's is a different story, but there still should be some mix up with number 2, number 3. Like we shouldn't know. Like why even watch if you just know they're going to get picked? That's kind of my view with the draft.
Yeah. Because I know in history, though, like, for example, in 1980, I think the Knicks draft Patrick Ewing.
Yep.
And that's huge. Like, everyone was watching the draft. And maybe it's because it's the Knicks, a big market team with the number 1 pick overall.
Yeah.
Maybe that has something to do with it.
It could.
But I just remember the draft was a huge thing, I think, back in the 80s. Whoever had number 1 pick was like, it was huge. It was covered everywhere. And it's changed. And I think part of the reason is because there's so many great players right now in the NBA that has, put less emphasis on the draft. So it's like, okay, you'll get a nice player, but like we already have these guys. You know what I mean?
Right,
I think
yeah.
I
it's
also
like that.
think in the 80s, we didn't have social media and media coverage as widespread now, where it literally, we can open my phone and I can find a rumor of who's going number 1 from someone that's notable.
Right.
Or just who's on there. Like back then, there were no phones. Like they read it in the newspapers the next
That's it.
day, or TV. There
Right.
was nothing. I think that's another big reason. But yeah, I agree with what he was saying too.
Yeah.
Because even if you look at the lottery, like outside of last year, because it was Wemby.
Yeah.
But even the lottery, like they do it at 3:00 in the afternoon or like 1 p.m. Like
On Mother's Day.
yeah, no one's gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Because I guess just we all know who's going number 1. It's just a matter of what team.
Right.
Like, the NBA has so much parity, and now it's gotten even worse. The fact that we're seeing, we're pretty sure that the lottery was rigged for the Spurs last year. We're pretty sure the lottery was rigged for the Pistons this year to get them out of number 1 and go back to 5 again. We're sure there was factors to get the Hawks number 1 to try and shake up their roster. There's definitely some measures the NBA are trying to take. I disagree with all of it. I think you need to play it by chance. Would it be marketable if Wemby was on the Pistons? Probably not. But at the end of the day, if I'm all about you deserve what you get, and if the Pistons won the lottery, then Wemby's a Piston. Deal with it. I don't know what else to say.
Detroit would be ecstatic.
Detroit's a basketball city. That would be
Yeah.
great for them.
Could you imagine?
It's not
Yeah.
bad at all. They won a championship in the late 90s. They had a great,
2000s.
amazing team with guys that are still working for them.
Yeah.
But-
IT's in the front office.
Yeah,
I
but
think.
the NBA wants, the next Tim Duncan, the next David Robinson, the guy that's going to projected to be better than both of them combined. That's why they made sure he was going to San Antonio.
Yeah.
I think we all can agree on that, whether Adam Silver wants to admit it or not. We all know what was going on.
Yeah, and then that's like the same thing with the Knicks and the Zion draft. We wanted Zion. Did they rig us to not get Zion? To get Zion.
I think it made it even worse, the fact that the Pelicans had the worst odds to land the number 1 pick.
Yeah, and then if we would have gotten second, we would have gotten Ja, which would be a different story right now if he was there with no Jalen Brunson. But we got RJ. He's gone now. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But Zion was the big thing. Knicks fans were so upset. We didn't. It was like Zion. We're missing out on the next Michael Jordan. Which now, looking back, I don't really think I would have cared for Zion as much.
You're better off without Zion
Without him.
and Ja, quite frankly.
Yeah.
As long as you get Jalen Brunson re-signed to that extension, I think it's a win-win regardless.
Yeah.
But there haven't I'll admit there haven't been as many like generational number 1 overall picks. Like obviously, yeah, Paolo's good, Cade's good, but like Wemby and Zion, as
Right.
far as college prospect goes, we're on the complete other level
Right.
compared to the rest.
Right.
Like they're the marquee guys to get.
Yeah.
Alex Sarr kind of falls into the Cade category where he's good, but he's not going to generate as much press. Like, there's gonna be tons of players in the future. Eventually, you'll get some generational talent. Again, they don't just grow on trees; they don't appear every year in the draft. But this draft specifically will be mainly based on feel and fit for who's gonna be in the right spots
Yeah.
after number 1.
I agree with that.
What's your
Another thought.
follow-up question?
I'm about to ask it right now, but one more thought to this is I also think the modern NBA, which is very free agency based, there's a lot more emphasis on free agency than draft.
There isn't anymore.
Really, you think it's going back the other way?
In this new CBA,
Okay.
you can't let people walk for nothing anymore. You can't have the Jalen Brunson situation happen again.
Okay.
You can't have guys not sign and then they just walk over to another team and they
Right.
become an all-star,
Right.
You need to get your return on investment, right? Because you're going to see, like, even let's say the Celtics don't win the finals this year. If they decide to blow it up and split up Brown and Tatum, they're going to trade them. They're not going to let someone's the Cavs are not going to let Donovan Mitchell's contract expire.
Right.
They're not going to let him test free agency at all. My voice
Yeah.
cracked again. I'm sorry, but I think you need to trade them because if you let a star walk for nothing, then your general manager needs to go.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my whole point with that was that players that were drafted to a specific team, they stay there their whole career. So that's why the draft mattered so much.
Right.
And now it's like you can trade or free agency either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're,
And
seeing, you're seeing that a lot with the European players.
Yeah.
They're very loyal to their teams.
Right.
Because a lot of them aren't from the major countries, right? Like Jokic from Serbia, Giannis is from Greece. You're not going to see many, players, to work for the big markets. They were grateful for their team taking a chance on them in the draft. It worked out well, and they're going to be there for the rest of their career. Like, I don't see Luka leaving Dallas,
Right.
no matter
No.
how bad it gets.
Right.
No.
And it's
I
been
agree.
bad.
Yeah. That also has to do with management. Mark Cuban, I don't think he's letting him go. Same
Right.
thing he did with Dirk. I don't think.
Well, he's the same guy that let Brunson walk.
Yeah. Bad decisions sometimes happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the
Part
end
of
of the
what
day,
Let me ask this next question really quick.
Yeah. It's
Go.
getting really hot in here. Let's get
Yeah.
to this next question.
So it should be quick. So if you're building a championship team, right?
yeah.
Is it better to draft players that are polished coming out of college or players that have a lot of potential but aren't quite there yet?
Ooh, I have a good answer. I'll let you take this first.
That is a general manager decision.
Okay.
That is what they feel is in their best interest.
So let's say you're the GM of a team. What would you do?
You got to give me an example of like players.
Just pick.
Foul
So
would you do?
taken.
here, I can give you an example. Someone already polished. It's really hard because there really haven't been many number 1 picks that go. I'll give you some role player examples. Someone like Cam Johnson was already a polished 5-year college player. He was an old rookie.
Right.
Compared to someone like Noah Clowney, who's really raw. He needs time to develop. We did the same thing with Nick Claxton. So something like that. Would you rather a star be polished like that? I think is what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
If I am a GM with a late pick, I will take the high flyer. But if I'm taking a high pick, I'm taking the polished guy that has put up good college numbers and I know can make an immediate impact right now
Okay.
rather than the upside player.
Right.
That's what I would decide. But I'm not saying I wouldn't flip-flop and do it another year differently.
What's your reasoning though behind it?
I think college experience, is something that players need, I feel like, unless you're international.
Right.
Of course, the G League has been kind of just like who knows what's happening with it now.
They can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
G League Night folded.
Yeah, so, they're all going to be going through college or through international. I think, not to say that Europe is a big stage, which it is compared to college basketball, it's just another big stage, but all the guys that we've seen that are not international guys have came through college. The other guys we've seen come out of Europe have been generational. Luka, Wemby, Jokic, Giannis. College guys we've seen that came through the ranks that are great. AD, LeBron's high school, he doesn't count. KD, Texas, Trae Young, Oklahoma.
Right.
All these guys were great in college, and those coaches in the college or somewhat have NBA experience or somewhat can be NBA coaches, and it's the step before NBA, which Bronny played at USC for a year. He didn't. That's another example. He got college experience, but he had some health issues along the way. Now he's coming into the league now.
Right.
But I think the polished player takes the cake for me. I think because experience that I guess as a GM would see close to NBA related play style in college basketball compared to international. We don't really know how much they do differently. I'm sure they watch film.
Debatable.
Well,
I'm sure they watch film on.
As far as college versus Europe,
Yeah.
I mean, Europe, they're playing professionally against 20 and 30-year-olds.
Exactly.
Like, it's big. Like, college, you're playing against, like, if you look at Duke, they're playing a D2 school opening night, and then they're playing against, like, a mid-major that's got players that aren't NBA, they're not even close to NBA caliber.
Yeah, they're only getting, like, good games against their conference opponents.
Right, and even still, like, these players go to these academies like IMG, and they're going 50-0 in high school. They don't have to do it when they're losing.
True. It's very true.
It's an interesting decision. I think it can go either way for me if I was a GM. I think it depends which player I like and which player I don't like.
That's
in
fair.
a certain draft.
So it's case by case, sort of.
Yeah, I think you have to evaluate on how you feel it fits on your team. But I'm not saying I wouldn't take the high flyer over the college guy.
Right.
That's
I
fair.
would, if need be, if I feel it in my gut as a GM, because GM decisions are made on their gut.
True.
Right.
And what they feel is best for the team. Sometimes they get fired for it because they failed. It's part of the job.
Right.
Sometimes they succeed. But if your guy is your guy, whether it's the college guy, the high upside guy, just take your guy. You have your coaches. You trust them. Let them build them up.
Right.
And you go from there.
The flyer guy could also be a college guy. Could just
Yeah,
get
of
one and
course.
done.
Yeah.
So,
I want to hear this.
yeah,
ahead.
so
What do you
he's
got?
right. It's very, very GM owner dependent, stuff like that. There's a caveat to me when it comes to this, right? Because I want someone that can develop, because if they're already polished and there's not much to improve on, you need someone that's going to build up in their first 4 or 5 years in the league before they reach their prime. My thing is, outside of the Europeans, because the Europeans are, they're rare when you see one like that, right? Whether it's a Jokic or a Giannis or a Wemby. Look back at the American first options that have won a championship with their team. I think it's been a very long time since we've seen that where they went to a major school. A lot of them went to mid-majors, right? Yeah. You saw it. Obviously, Jokic is European. Steph went to Davidson. Kawhi went to San Diego State. It was all just Steph. LeBron doesn't count because LeBron's an outlier. Yeah. He was so good, it was ridiculous. It's either Europe or mid-major schools, and that's what typically makes you great. You watch the NFL a lot. Notice how a lot of the group of 5 schools, their quarterbacks are more NFL ready. Because you're dealing with the adversity in college from not playing for a highly dominant team. Because if you play for like an Alabama or an LSU, you're going to go to a shit team, and you're going to wind up, instead of going from the best O-line and the best wide receivers in the nation, you're now going to the worst ones in that league, in the NFL. So I think having those guys, whether it's a guy from Europe or a guy from, a mid-major school, obviously not one of the smaller ones, but one where they're competitive and you really bring out all facets of your game, I think it's important. And I think getting a guy that will develop, someone that's coachable, is obviously very helpful, but someone that's going to help you develop up into the ranks and become good. That's what made Steph Curry so good with the Warriors. They took their time with him. Denver took their time with both Jokic and Murray. They came off the bench together, and now they're the best duo in the NBA. So that's what's, I think, most important with that. You look at Wemby, even though Wemby's got a lot to learn, right? He had one of the best rookie seasons, if not the best rookie season ever. And there were still a lot of flaws that he had, mainly conditioning. That's also very important. But you can see someone that's got time to develop, but someone that's not fully polished, because you don't want to enter the league without room to improve, because that's a problem. You can't have that. So I'm looking, if I have a championship team, I'm looking for a polished guy,
Right.
because you need someone ready right from the go.
Yeah.
So that's where it's important. But as far as like someone like Derek Lively is kind of a mixture of both, because yeah, he's got a lot to learn, but he's already making an impact versus someone like Christian Brown who made an impact immediately.
Right.
So it's tough.
By the way, I think you should be a general manager.
Oh God, I'd want to cry, bro.
No, because this answer is absolutely spectacular.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, for real. Keep going though.
Yeah, I'll see what more I have.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, because right now, obviously, G League Ignite's done. So your only routes for the pros are college, overtime elite, or any professional circuit overseas, whether that's in Europe, Australia. I know is a very popular option. But I think right now we're in. I've always been saying it's a Europeans league. A European is the way to go, right? I think you're seeing that. Obviously, you have the main guys, but you got some up and comings. Like Shangun is one, for example, that's kind of working his way up. Obviously, Wemby is Wemby, but for me, you need someone to develop. You need, especially because most teams that pick outside of the 2020 Warriors have blown it up. They're rebuilding. Why not start with someone raw, someone that you need time to develop with, and someone that's you develop chemistry with not only your teammates but your coach. That's why I think teams have been so impatient with coaches, because coaching's important for a guy too.
Yeah. Fair.
So it's kind of a mix between all of it. Obviously, you want some polished skills and attributes from them to begin with, but that's obviously what puts them into that position in the first place. So at the end of the day, for me, that's probably what I would do. And I think 9 times out of 10, it would work out. And that always doesn't amount. Working out doesn't always mean winning a championship, because winning a championship is very hard. So as long as you are successful, player turns into a star.
Right.
That's all you can really ask for at that
'cause
point.
both cases, they can turn out to be super successful.
Right.
Right. For example, Giannis, super raw.
Yeah.
Coming out of wherever he came from. And then he turned
yeah.
into a beast. Now, Jason Tatum, he was super polished coming out of college, but he had more potential to reach. So those are like two sides of the spectrum, but they're both superstars.
And I think, too, there's just a whole different perception on these teams now. I think back when we were growing up, I mean, after the mid to late 2000s, the Bucks were irrelevant. The Nuggets were irrelevant. The Mavs had won a championship and then became irrelevant for years. So you're getting good perceptions from these teams. The Warriors were nothing until Steph Curry came around, and then that whole dynasty formed. And then obviously the Raptors were always just there, but then that 1 year of Kawhi, it just changes you. But that's obviously different because Kawhi got traded there. But I think the draft has become super important. Most championship teams are homegrown. And it's very rare you see your first option get traded to a team and you win a championship. So no matter who wins the championship this year outside of Indiana, it's all homegrown talent. Tatum and Brown with Boston, Cat and Edwards with Minnesota, and blanking on Luka with the Mavs.
This is a good point. Yeah, that's interesting.
So every championship team except Kawhi over the past decade have been homegrown talent.
Didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's a discussion we've had a lot in net spaces because, twice now in the past 15 years, we've given up the kitchen sink for stars and it's ended horribly. And the Suns are experiencing it right now where you're going to have no picks that you can control. So
yeah,
it's tough.
Well, great answer. Both of you guys. Great answers. Yeah. Because honestly, I thought I underperformed with the question, but you guys carried.
I think it was good.
No.
Good job, guys.
What do you think?
With which one?
Both. Just kind of give us a brief.
I mean, I think I gave my answer. I think in terms of the first question, I think. What was the question? Let me see.
There's no way.
Okay,
there is
the draft
no way.
underwhelming because the NBA has gotten so good.
That is blasphemous.
I do think the draft has become very underwhelming because of, like I said before, the free agency and trades and all these things. But to your point, the NBA is sort of coming out of that because they're realizing that championships are made with when you draft a player and they're homegrown, like you said.
Right.
So I think the NBA is coming out of that, but maybe we'll see in the future drafts having more emphasis and more excitement with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's my answer to that. And for the second one, I think it's definitely better if I had to pick, because obviously it's case by case. You got to know the
Right.
player. You have to even the player's personality comes into play and all that.
There's so many combinations
Yeah.
of what you need, whether it's player, coach, city, franchise, owner,
Right, all those things come into play.
conference, like the way the conference is stacked. There's a lot that goes into it.
Oh yeah. So it's like, if I had to pick, I would say I would take the more raw. I would take a risk. I'm a risk taker, but I'm gonna take the more raw player that has a higher upside than
Yeah.
the player that's polished and maybe doesn't have as much of an upside as the other player. So
Right.
I'll take the risk.
No, I'm with you on that. Sometimes high risk, high reward.
Exactly.
That's really all you can ask for.
Yeah.
So, any final thoughts on this? No. All right. Well,
Set.
it'll be my turn next week once again. I'll have to cook up a good question for y'all because I got lucky the first time because it just came to me through conversation. So, but yeah, that brings us to the end of episode number 7. That's crazy. At the end of every episode, I'm still going to have trouble trying to process it. So obviously, as we do in every outro, if you all are still with the flow of the video, Gio over there is going to give you all a word to comment. So Gio, what is the word the lovely people should comment if they are still here?
You know, I had a word earlier, but I forgot. I think we're just gonna do tripod because we
Tripod.
no longer have boxes.
Yeah.
We have tripods.
The studio is being optimized bit by bit.
Yeah.
It's getting there. Maybe when we hit 1,000 subs, we do a studio tour.
I thought it was a foot
I
reveal.
like it.
Well, it's
I thought it was a foot reveal.
so it's foot reveal, it's Geo Twitter, Geo TikTok, and studio tour. I think we might
studio
as well.
tour with Gio's feet.
Yikes.
Are you gonna do you're gonna do the tour barefoot?
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
have to.
You might have to, yeah. I mean, this room isn't very big. I would say it's probably the same size as like maybe the.
Your room at home.
Yeah, probably. I would say around there. I guess maybe I'm trying to think of like a good NBA reference. As far as like maybe it's like the size of it's a little bit bigger than the paint.
Yes.
It's like the paint times 2.
Yeah,
Yes.
think of 2 paints.
Yes. Yes.
So, but yeah, obviously, if you guys are new, remember to like and subscribe. We're getting very close to 1,000 subscribers. We're at like 860 something. So we'll probably hit 900 by like the end of the week by the time this episode comes out. And then we're on that final push towards a K. And then we'll just keep going after that.
Yep.
If you guys are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, be sure to follow us there. Give us a 5-star rating. You know the drill. Follow us on all our socials at FloorSpacerPod on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. And the Floor Spacer Podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whenever we get there. Make sure to follow us as well. You can see our social links in the thing, the overlay below, whatever. And socials and everything are also in the description below. Be sure to go check out the last episode. Link also down there as well. And any final thoughts for you guys? No, none?
None.
Remember, people on Spotify can't hear.
We're
Can't
good.
see.
No.
Yeah.
No.
We're all done.
So yeah, rest of the conference finals this week. And stay tuned for episode number 8, where will be our full NBA Finals preview whenever we record that, either Sunday or Monday. So we appreciate you guys for watching. We hope you all enjoyed. We love you all endlessly. And as usual, we'll see you all next Wednesday.
Let's go.